Hello everybody and welcome to Sky Tour Livestream. This is Marc Dantonio and we are here with somebody else that you know. Hey there Keith, how's it going?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm fine. It's good to see you, man.
Yeah. I'm trying to start the P&K stream at the same time. I think
and he's trying to start that. Okay, that's very cool though. That's very cool.
There we
so
go.
That's cool. And Greggy Gilgan, welcome. Yes, you are here at the start for once. I think you're down under too, aren't you, Greggy? I believe that you are down in Australia, along with our other friends down there. Tonight, as you can see, it's going to be a night of talking about the James Webb and what it means to us, and how, in fact, it got to where it's going, the instrumentation it has. We got lots of visuals to play with to show you all kinds of things tonight about the James Webb. So by the time we're done, you're gonna know what this telescope is, what it sees, and how it works. Right? In fact,
and that's Mark's job. My job is just to ask the questions.
Well, that's
and
good.
Provide some comedic relief, if you
comedic
will.
Relief.
And once again, welcome to everybody on P&K SpaceImaging. We are simulcasting right now with Marc Dantonio and the Sky Tour live stream. You have us on both channels because we're awesome.
That's right. We are awesome. You can say
talking about
that.
The James Webb.
Yeah, the James Webb is amazing. I mean, I've been following it. Of course, we streamed its launch on December 25th. What a Christmas present, huh? That was incredible.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. I didn't see you once. I wanted to, see if you were going to stream with us.
Oh, dude, I was so busy. Yeah.
What happened?
Been busy. I don't know. It was Christmas.
Oh.
Did you forget about that part?
I do. I forget things like that sometimes when I get going,
Astronomers don't have families.
We do, but the trouble is that sometimes we forget that we have them when things are happening that are just amazing. Yes. And this is one of those things that was pretty amazing.
Yeah, but don't worry. I was watching your stream coverage of it.
Were you?
And it seemed like everybody and their brother wanted to do the same thing. All your big channels that decide to come out when there's something big to watch.
Yeah.
They like to go ahead and just stream the big events and kill all the smaller streamers.
Yeah, that's okay.
Well, what can you do?
It's all right. Not a problem.
Yeah, it's all right. We'll live.
Sure. We'll continue.
I'm trying to figure out which screen is which now. Okay, okay, let me switch you. I'm going to put you on the screen so I can see what you're doing. And then I'll keep the P&K on the big screen. There we go. Beautiful.
Are you happy?
I am happy.
Okay.
Happy, joy.
Happy, joy. Happy, joy. Hi, Ren. Get away from me, Stimpy.
And hello to everybody joining on both channels. I can't see Mark's right now, but on this side we have Brandy and Justin and Miriam and Chris and Johnny D. Yeah. On the P&K side.
On the Sky Tour Livestream STLS side, we have Mikey C, Cypher 2, and we have Daisy and Zoe Amethyst. We have Greggy Gilgan, and we have PG. Hi, PG, and Isabella Melamed from Sofia, Bulgaria. Hi, Isabella. And it's good to see you guys here. Welcome to the Magical Mystery Tour of the James Webb Space Telescope. And Do W is here. Hey, Do. So tonight, we are simulcasting on P&K SpaceImaging as well as here. And we're going to talk about that thing, the James Webb Space Telescope you see up there. We also have some cool visuals that kind of help us along. And the question is, what is this big $10 billion gamble all about? And is it worth the money? Is it worth what we're doing out there? And the answer, I think, is a resounding yes. There's a lot of things the James Webb Telescope is going to show us that are different. If you consider the fact that the Hubble Space Telescope has an 8-foot mirror, and this mirror on the James Webb is a 21-foot mirror. It's going to give it 100 times the capability. And that gives us just the most amazing capability for views. And you might say, wow, I can't wait to see this. Well, what's going to be seen is something that is invisible to our eyes. The James Webb doesn't look in the visual spectrum like we see with our eyes. It's going to use the radio spectrum. So we have red through blue in our spectrum, right? Well, way out to the other side, way past the red, out into the realm we can't see with our eyes, are the microwaves, are the radio waves, and mostly the infrared. And this is where the James Webb Telescope specialty is set up for. It's set up to look in the infrared. Now there's going to be a little bit of the infrared that's right at the very edge of the visual spectrum for the eyes, and then the rest is all down in the part of the infrared that we can't see. So you might say, how will we see anything? Well, the images are going to be taken in, and they're going to be given colors based on what we're looking at, and they'll be presented in a way that you can see them with your eyes. Radio telescopes have been doing this for many years. Arecibo was just a dish, but everything it received from the sky was translated into something you could see with your eyes, even though the data that came in was data you could not see with your eyes. So it was shifted and translated into something you could see. So you get that right,
It's
Keith?
making the invisible visible.
Making the invisible visible. That's a good way to put it. I want to say hi to Dr. Mark in Texas. Hi there, Dr. Mark. Thanks for coming in. Amal is here. Hi, Amal. And I also see Rock is here with us. Good to see you, Rockstar. And we have AR Lemieux. What's happening? Nice to see you. So, yeah. So, if you look, and by the way, just to give you a little update, the Skytour Livestream telescope in Arizona is doing fine. Everything is good out there. It's just that we have very, very heavy-duty weather out there right now, so we can't stream when we have clouds and actually rain in the desert, believe it or not. So there's rain out there. So I connected to it earlier today. I checked it out. I looked over all the equipment. Everything's fine. So I did a diagnostic test of everything, and I've got a new system we're putting in. You're welcome, Dr. Mark. I got a new system we're putting in that actually is going to help us focus automatically. So now, whereas I typically will do that and focus manually, I'm going to be implementing a system where the telescope will automatically focus. Kind of just like this guy. And James Webb is going to be doing that too. You know. And Bonnie's here, Anahata77. How are you, Bonnie? It's great to see you again. I have to tell you, I had a great time meeting Bonnie. She actually drove many hours to come see a talk I was giving in Colorado in September. And it was very humbling that she drove that far just to see my talk. I was very, very just taken aback by that. And she joined us at dinner. It was wonderful. So it was wonderful meeting you, Bonnie, and I'm really happy that you've come on in to hang out with us here in Skytour Livestream. So, that said, Keith, what's been going on with you, man?
Hey, man, same old, working constantly.
Don't say that. I was going to say, don't say same old, same old.
Well, I mean, it pretty much is. It's, you know, busy holiday season.
Okay. Busy holiday season.
We haven't really been doing much. Of course, Paul, got some new cameras and stuff to play with, and we'll be hitting it hard in 2022. But
that's what I'm waiting to hear about.
Yeah. But besides that, I mean, really nothing major.
Okay.
Doing the holiday thing, the family thing. It's good to see some people. Got a nice little get together to go to tomorrow night, which I hope everybody else does, or maybe stay home and let's all not try to die. You know what I mean? Keep COVID safe, people.
Mm-hmm.
If you're able.
Well, I can tell you this: I know a number of people that have had it. Omicron is rampant right now. My son had it. My other son has it now. But my son who had it was here in the house for 2 weeks, right. And I never got it, and no one else got it. So I think that you just have to be safe, be careful. But I might have had Omicron and not even known it because I am vaccinated. But the thing is, Omicron is just so low level. It's almost like a cold to some people.
Yeah, it's like the little wimpy brother of the Delta.
Yeah, and the thing that's
from what
nice
I'm
is,
seeing with
yeah.
vaccinated people. Now it can get to once immune compromised people, obviously, but
as the flu does too. So you see now,
exactly.
Omicron is acting like the flu season does. In people that are in dire straits. People that have complications or morbidity type, problems. There will be a higher rate of people succumbing to that, and
right.
I don't.
Well, you know what? Anyway, just
ill upon them.
stay distanced that way, because nobody likes to be sick, regardless if it's bad or a slight cold. Nobody likes to have a cold, so just
yeah, that's right.
Wash your hands.
Actually,
just do the normal stuff.
For all the people listening, think about this. You guys probably haven't been sick in the last year or two, and you really attribute it to the fact that you're sanitizing your hands a lot more before you do other things with them. You've been actually hyper about it, most likely, and that's probably why you haven't gotten sick. So if you think about it, there's two things I can do for you, and that is, of course, to keep you from getting COVID, of course, unless you're very, very, very careless. And the second thing it can do is it can actually keep you cleaner hygienically, and that's also going to be good for you. You won't have bacteria or anything that can adhere to your skin and get into your eyes and whatever, and cause other things to cause you to be sick. However,
and I might be the minority on this, and masks are good. I think masks are good. And I was always wondering in years past, like, why people in Japan and like Asian countries were always wearing masks. This was before the whole COVID thing. I was like, man, that's gotta suck to walk around. But now that I see like how good it was not to get sick, like for once in a year, I'm like, oh, wait a minute.
I don't think it's the mask. Like this. The masks don't keep you from getting sick. Okay, the masks actually keep you from infecting other people.
Well, no, I'm saying masks together keeps you from inhaling any airborne virals. Whether it be the flu or a cold. Sure, it does.
No. See, it's trying to stop a virus, okay, or as Agent Smith would say, a virus, okay, as Agent Smith would say. Trying to stop a virus with a mask is like trying to stop mosquitoes from coming into your house with using crossed rebar. Okay, the virus is so small, it just whips right through there like nothing. What it does do, though, is it prevents a massive load of stuff if someone sneezes or coughs in your direction.
Well, that's what I'm talking about. If you go walking through somebody's sneeze, it's going to lessen your chances by 50 to 70%. That's a big percentage.
I don't know what the actual number is, but
50 to 70%. I just told you. Virologist in the family. I hear it 24/7.
Well, yeah, okay, that's fair. I mean,
yes.
And but see, masks are also bad for you in the following way. They actually increase the pressure on your lungs. When you draw in, the diaphragm muscle works overtime in order to actually pull through that mask. It may not seem like a lot, but added up over time, it can actually cause tremendous respiratory problems. So I don't think the mask is a good idea to be wearing all the time. And for people who wear it outside, that's moronic. There's no reason to wear a mask outside ever.
Yeah, I won't wear it outside unless I'm in close quarters with a lot of people.
Well,
you know what I mean?
Go to those outdoor concerts with all the drugs that you do, I mean, I can understand.
Yeah, I mean, well, it's kind of hard to sniff cocaine, and not get COVID.
And get it on the mask, and then the police will see.
But no, if it's in close quarters, I definitely, and not only that, but they recommend, once again, so you're not walking through somebody's snot ball in the middle of the air. I mean, it's all about water droplets.
It is.
It's what it comes down to.
That's right. Because they actually identified that it's really not transmissible by surfaces so much.
No, it was something like 10 to 14% or something like that. It was really low for surface transmission.
Yeah, and most people thought that it was going to be a lot higher. Right. But one thing that doesn't have to worry about COVID is this guy, the James Webb Space Telescope.
Yeah, right. How do we get off on this? Stop getting off topic, Mark.
No, but I wanted to show folks, actually. All right, if you look up here, this is a readily available site. You can go to it. It's called Where is James Webb? If you look up Where is James Webb website, you'll come to this site. And it shows you some really cool things. Here's the timeline in days. until it gets to Lagrange point 2. We're going to talk about what Lagrange points are in just a minute. And these are the major deployment things, milestones between here and there. Right now, it's in the middle of the sun shield. And if you not know what that is, well, you just come down and it shows you what it's doing. And if you say, well, what's actually going on, you can actually look at a video that shows it. Now, check this out. Right, so right now, here's where we are. This shows you the telescope here. It shows you in its current configuration. And that's where it is, day 5.5, basically. And now it's opening the sun shield covers, which are these little sheaths, these membranes that protect that sun shield material. That sun shield is made of a material called kaptine. I've worked with kaptine. In fact, one of the 3D printers I have here has a kaptine surface on it, but I used kaptine for a movie project that I did for a movie production. And kaptine is a really interesting material, and it is very, very resilient, all right? However, if it gets a tear in it, you can tear it. So it really, really has to be carefully processed to keep the rips from happening. So let's take a look at what this deployment step looks like. All right, so here are the rollers.
Hold on 1 second, Mark. Can you do me one favor on the Skype stream? Could you pop out your YouTube chat on there just so I can see if any questions come across on yours as well as mine?
Oh.
Is it possible to get your chat on there?
I can.
Without taking up a boatload of your screen?
Let's see here.
I really got to get that third screen.
Third screen. Hey.
Yeah.
Don't worry, folks. We'll get back to this in a second. Okay.
Yes. Back with you.
Let's see here. Let me pop it out and see what we get. All right. So you wanted me to do this, is what you want?
Yeah, and you can actually shrink that a little bit if you need to.
I'm going to. I have to. Yeah.
Okay. You can lengthen
there.
It. Well, now it's all. Yeah. I just see names. Yeah, that'll work right there. Yeah, it's perfect.
Okay. So let's just.
Yeah, I can do it there.
Try that. But this may. Okay. Let's just try that.
Sausage.
All right. Anyway, Harry.
Yes.
So this pink part here, these are the membrane
disappeared.
These are the membrane covers. Yeah. See that? It went away. And so those come away, and what that does is that leaves the next step. That is to say, the deployment of the sun shield. But there's some arms on the side here that have to come out. Because remember, this is a big diamond-shaped sun shield. If you don't know what it looks like, the James Webb, I've got that covered for you. Here's the James Webb right here. All right, this is a 3D model I have of the James Webb Telescope, right? And you can see this is the telescope set of mirrors. We'll talk about those later. This is the secondary mirror up here. So light hits the main mirror, goes up to that secondary mirror, and then goes down through the hole right here that's in the middle of this mirror, and goes to the systems inside here that are super cooled to negative 240 degrees. And this is where the infrared sensors are all located. This big diamond-shaped contraption that is now unfurling is a sun shield. That's all it is. It blocks the sun. So this side will see the sun. This side never will, right? And the reason is because the telescope's sensors are so sensitive, absolutely so sensitive, that it's going to have to stay in the dark for its entire lifetime, right? Which should be about 10 years. On
projected,
the other
right?
side, what?
They project 10 years?
Yeah, that's if they can't refuel it. But I already watched a refueling process where they remotely refueled a system in a laboratory, not in space. And that refueling system could be used to go out to the L2 position where James Webb is and automatically refuel it in 10 years.
Nice.
If it needs to. Yeah, but it has not been confirmed that it can do that yet. So anyway, this telescope right here, this is the quintessential, I guess, telescope for the ages. Let me roll it over for you here. Actually, let me get rid of this here. So if I roll this over and you look at the other side, okay, so this is, when you first saw it, in Earth orbit. What you ended up seeing was actually something that looked like this, actually. This is almost the exact view we all saw. We saw this round part of the telescope leaving us, and then the solar panel extended, which is this right here. Okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 panels of the solar panel. Those were extended, and that's what we saw. That was the last view of it we saw. We didn't see any of this because none of it was unfurled yet. Okay? We didn't see any of this. Okay, these are all booms that have to yet to have come out, but they did. And so forth. So now they're moving us to that next step, right? So those are the solar panels there. So that's what we saw. And of course, we didn't see up above, which was this up here. Let me just bring us back. Hello. We didn't see up
hello.
here. Hello. we didn't see up here because this was where we were. This is where we were looking before, right? And this was our telescope system there. Very cool. I thought that maybe we would be further along in the development of the James Webb. If you remember, it's had so many setbacks, right? How many times?
When was the first was proposed? What, early 2000s?
I think the James Webb. I don't remember the actual development date of the James Webb. That's one thing I don't know. But it was.
I remember the launch date. The original launch date was like something like 2011 or 2012.
Yeah, and can you imagine?
Yeah,
that would have been a spectacular thing to see.
Right, but you know what? I've said this before, and I've said this to you privately many a times. I am so glad that they waited and kept delaying it, and just to make sure it's perfect. Yes. And so far, so good. Fingers crossed.
I agree.
Because this telescope is going to change everything.
Yes, it is.
I cannot say it enough.
It's going to change history, no doubt. Yes. So what we saw, and I'll play this one more time. This is the deployment phase of the covers. That's what just happened today. It's just the covers that cover up this very thin membrane made of kaptine.
Man, can you imagine if one of those covers just got stuck? It just stopped.
Stop
oh, wait, well, there's lost $10 billion.
No, they actually do have some contingencies in case of stuck things. The James Webb literally can shake itself. I know that's weird, but it can actually shake itself a little bit. Yeah. Shake it up. Yeah. Shake it up.
Greggy, it might have. Greggy said, wasn't it conceived way back in like 1995? And that's definitely a possibility.
I believe he's right about that, actually. Now that he mentions that. Yeah. Hi, C&D boy. So that's the step we're on now. But let's take a look at all the deployment steps so we can check it out. All right, because that's kind of cool.
Okay.
So these steps, again, this is all available on that NASA website, so check it out. So right now, we're at this step. But where we were was we had unfolded the arms that would support the sunshade, all right? The sunshade parasol, right? So that's the one we just saw. Now next, this port side boom, this thing right here will go out and drag the sunshade out now that the covers are off. And let's take a look at what that looks like.
Yes.
Now see that? Now what you have to understand is it's actually taking all the layers out with it. Okay, there's 4 or 5 layers of this, and all of them are coming out. We're going to talk about those layers shortly. Right? So that was this particular step. That's the next step to come out, and that's going to be tomorrow. See, space doesn't know holidays, so everybody has to work, right? Well, then the starboard mid boom is going to come out, and it's going to drag it out as well, and that's going to do the same thing. And they show the same video. They show kind of like the same video, but I'll show it to you from this position.
Very, very slowly.
Yes, that's right.
It looks like the James Webb just put on a mask.
It sort of does.
Just the way the string was something. It's like,
what an absolutely wonderful COVID comment you made.
Thank you. Pat self on back.
You didn't see me roll my eyes, though. So that was this step. And that hasn't happened yet. That's going to happen at the same day tomorrow. It's the port boom. Then, okay, this is important because now watch the tensioning system. This is important because, as I said, all the layers came out with this, right? All the layers came out with the sunshade, right? When it did that boom, they all came out. So check out what happens, right? Watch carefully, because all of a sudden you're going to see all the layers show up. 1 is set up, 2 are set up, 3 are set up, and 4 and 5 are set up.
By the way, they will not set up that fast.
No, they will not. They will not. But when they release, they will. And when they each release, they're going to set up that fast when they release. Because that's just going to be their tension, so they're just going to slide up into their notch.
Isabella, here's a good question. I think I have the answer. She says, Mark, why they deploy the telescope before parking it in orbit? Doesn't this slow it down and waste fuel? And I have an answer for that because I'm not the smart one here, but I think it's because there's no air in space. You can just kind of do it.
That is one reason, yes, and it allows us to test all the systems.
There you go.
The other reason we do that, though, relates to another deployment that was done that I didn't talk about, and that is it this guy? Yes. Okay. This here, all right,
aft.
is the aft momentum flap. Okay.
Flap.
Yeah. So what is that? It's not a radiator. It's just a flap. It's a flap that's meant to reflect the sunlight. Why do we stick a mirror on the end of a boom? Okay. The answer is because sunlight has force that it can apply. And when the James Webb starts to deploy, the sun's energy is going to strike the telescope. And just like with the Kepler Space Telescope, we used the energy of the sun's impact to actually create a new system by which we could help steer the crippled telescope and give it more years of operation.
Is this like a solar wind?
That is correct. It's a solar wind reflector. And when the solar wind strikes, the solar wind is a bunch of small particles that don't weigh a lot. But let's consider that when the solar wind strikes this panel right here, it's going to bounce off. These are high energy protons and electrons. They're going to bounce off. Well, remember, Newton's third law, for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. So if it hits that and bounces off, there's a tiny little bit of impulsive force that hits that panel, right? And that tiny bit of force adds up when you've got trillions upon trillions of atoms or nuclei hitting this panel. And that will allow to help balance a telescope that has this giant sunshade, which is effectively like a solar sail. All right.
But wouldn't it be like all those, trillions of, atoms be hitting the telescope itself as well?
Yeah, and the momentum flap is meant to actually counter that.
Okay.
Right. So this is the amount of surface area on this is meant to exactly balance the amount of impulse force that we're going to have happen to the James Webb Telescope from these nuclei that are striking the telescope.
Right.
And that's what the momentum flap is all about. Because, you know why? Because solar wind. That should actually be a t-shirt. Because solar wind.
Because solar wind.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. See, I gave you a way in there, and you took it.
Yep, took it all the way.
Well, keep in mind, never trust an atom, right? They make up everything.
Yep.
That's a t-shirt. I actually have 2 of those t-shirts. I don't know why. I got one as a gift, and I got a second one as a gift. I was like, I like them both.
Well, looks like I have something else to steal when I come up.
Yes, but it won't fit you. Yeah, you think you're a little larger size than I am.
Oh, look, I'll use it as a pant leg or something. You're the little tiny people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, so see here. Oh, yeah, look, it says so. The aft momentum flap is used to help offset some of the solar pressure that impinges on the sun shield, the large sun shield. Okay, so that actually is very important because when you consider when it is sitting out at its final position, all right, the solar pressure is still hitting it, and you have to use fuel to counteract that. So this momentum flap is helping to reduce the amount of fuel that does this. Okay, so we would actually, it reduces the amount of fuel we need to do the corrections, is what I meant to say. So that's what the aft momentum flap is. That's already deployed, and that was deployed, I think, earlier today. I don't know for sure.
It's possible.
Yeah. But then, after the tensioning, which, again, remember, this is the tensioning. All of the sun shields are out there. Okay.
Bloop, 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 bloop.
Yep. Boop, 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 boop. Yep. Like, up they go. Okay. Yeah, right. But I want you to notice something. You see these ridges? You see these little stitches here? Okay. Those are very important, actually. And they're actually very, very highly important to the process of the sun shield remaining intact. And let's talk about those for a minute. These are ripstop, what do you call them? I'd say braids, or sewn in patterns in the captine, and they would prevent a tear from catastrophically tearing through the entire tensioned sunshade, because
like
that
from
is
a
something
micrometeorite or something.
Yeah, exactly. If a meteorite hit that and it just blew a hole, well, the edges of that hole could be sharp. It will be sharp, and you can start a tear, and it will travel some distance, but it will only travel to the point of one of those ripstop locations. Okay, and so a lot of fabric things that are utilized in life have these hot air balloons. Okay, have these ripstop seams in them as well, because balloons do get holes in them. I've watched the balloon get a big hole in it, but it stops after a certain amount because that has these ripstop seams. Well, the James Webb has them on every single layer. Now, one thing I wanted to show you is interesting, and it's let's first of all do the comparison. This is the Hubble Space Telescope on the right compared to the James Webb. Notice the difference here. Hubble's diameter here, this diameter of the mirror is 8 feet, okay? This one is 21 feet. Now, why couldn't Hubble be 21 feet in diameter? Why? What happened? Who knows the answer to that? All right, I can tell you.
Not me.
Yeah, you do. You'll know when I tell you. Say, oh yeah. Well, I'll tell you. All right, I'll tell you. No. Hey there, Tim F. and Blues Traveler. How you doing? What happened is the Hubble was one integrated mirror, one big mirror. And our rockets aren't bigger or big enough to carry a 22-foot mirror into space.
Not only that, but it had to fit in the space shuttle too, right?
That's right. It was meant to fit in the space shuttle as well. But the thing was, this 8-foot diameter was a limitation based on the rockets that we had at the time to launch it. By the way, do you know that Hubble is 30 years old?
It's past its time.
30 years old and still working.
Still doing his job.
Still going.
Which is why I'm hopeful that we at least get 20 out of Mr. Webb here. Which is possible.
Yeah, the only reason we wouldn't is because it runs out of fuel, but they're starting some refueling techniques. I actually, like I said, I watched one refueling an automated system, not meant to be refueled automatically, but by people, by like an astronaut interfacing with the system. And they actually did the job that the hands do to unscrew a latch, do this, move that, and it worked beautifully. So they're working on automated refueling systems.
It's going to be a robot.
Yeah, that's true.
It is. So I can tell you.
Yeah. So
robots have come so far, dude. Have you seen the new one from the That robot looks so real. It was scary.
Yeah. Yeah. But
Like,
just ask it to go to the store and go shopping for you, and it's like,
It's coming. It's coming. I'm telling you.
So
Faster than we think.
yeah. I mean, artificial intelligence is very important, but there's a danger there, which we may talk about. So this 8-foot limitation then was the limitation to the size of the rocket that could house the Hubble when it was launched. This guy, on the other hand, this was all folded up. It's a multiple segment mirror. If we go back to this guy for just a minute, you notice that the mirror is made of multiple segments. All right. This gives us the opportunity now to fold these 3 back, and they get folded backwards. Okay. And then the other 3 on the other side over here also get folded back. And now this segment here can fit inside of a rocket, all right, vertically, right? And then this right here is a very fancy folded mechanism. These 2 things, these 2 guys here are rigid, and they fold up to the top, all right? This right here bends upward, and these things end up taking this mirror right down to almost to the face of this. I can show you that because we have a deployment video that shows that. All right, so that's cool. And I actually started printing a 3D model of the James Webb. We're going to have one available if people want one very soon. It's going to be about this big. The sunshade is about that big. Might be a little bigger. And so now, if we take a look at this set of mirrors, then notice we went to a multi-mirror telescope here. Now, we honed our skills with multi-mirror telescopes with telescopes on Mauna Kea here in, well, not here, but over in Hawaii, but here on Earth. And studying multiple mirror telescopes is very important because that allowed us to do what we have to do. Each mirror is individually movable and will have to be brought into a position that has its final curvature. Okay, now they're flat, they can't curve, but they're arranged in a curved pattern.
Honeycomb.
Okay, you can see that if I do this. See that curve? It's a gentle curve, but
look
the
at that
mirrors
sensual curve.
Right. Notice the gentle curves. Baby.
Sexy. Sexy curve of the James Webb
right.
Telescope. Each mirror independently movable.
Independently operated. Yeah.
It can bend and turn and leg together like nothing you've ever seen before.
Yeah. So each of these mirrors, right, can then be individually moved just to get into this final curvature. Right now, it's in a launch configuration where it's not in any curvature at all. It's flat, all right? And that's going to be one of the later things that they do is they actually move it into that final curved position. Because these mirror cells that it's sitting on are actually little independent computer-operated systems, which is really cool.
What is the date they have for final everything? Like when it's boom, it's there, it's everything is done and completed. It needs to be completed.
Well,
roughly.
we're not gonna see the first image, science image for 6 months.
Yeah,
However,
I know that.
It's gonna be at the L2 in 30 days from launch.
Okay, 30 days,
It's
and then they
actually over
start
40%
the rest of the
way there
deployment.
now. What's that?
Yeah. So after the 30 days, it starts the final deployments of everything, opening, and are they doing that on the way?
Yeah, they're doing it in a way because right now, like for instance, here, let's see, we're here today.
What if it got there and was like, oh, the brakes don't work, and it just kept going?
Well, that's the thing.
Whoops.
Okay, think of it, James Webb going to this location. You might think it has to stop, right? How's it going to stop out there? It's going so fast. In fact, right now,
Retro thrusters.
Yeah, right. Let's go take a look. All right. Right now, it's moving. Look at its cruising speed. It's moving at just under a half a mile per second. Okay. Now it was moving faster than that, but it's slowing down. How come? Why would it be slowing down? How is it slowing down? Is it using fuel to slow down? Or is it just slowing down somehow automatically?
Yes.
What do you think, Keith?
Tether.
Yeah, a giant tether. Get back here. No, what's happening is, think of it as we have the sun's gravity, we have the Earth's gravity, we have the moon's gravity. It's past the moon now. Look at the distance. It's 415,931.9, well, 932 miles from the Earth. Okay, 416,000. It's moving just under half a mile per second.
It's almost twice
of
the
the way there.
distance as the moon.
Almost 50% there. Okay, this is not to scale. This is based on the days. But keep this in mind. It's going fast, but now the moon's gravity and the sun. Here's the Earth right here. Here's the moon. The Earth and the moon's gravity and the sun's gravity is now pulling on it. It had an initial speed. Now it's slowing down, and it's meant to slow down just to where it's going to be almost moving very, very little, just enough to be stopped for its final positioning out here at L2. So it's slowing down all the way there from now on, which is kind of cool. That's why it's going to take 30 days to get there. Because it's...
So what is slowing it down, Mark?
I told you. I just said it. Where have you been? Yeah,
Oh.
I said the gravity of the sun, the Earth, and the moon. It's moving uphill all the way because it's being pulled on. It's like a car going uphill. Imagine a car being given enough speed to go up a hill so that by the time it got to the top, just as it peaked the top, it would stop.
Can you imagine that, though? If it got all the way out there, everything's going perfect, and all of a sudden it just doesn't stop. It just keeps going. It just keeps going and keeps going. You know, like all the NASA people are just sitting around, like, what did we do?
And then
We
Frank,
misplaced a decimal.
Frank comes forward and says, I actually did that fuel burn. I probably shouldn't have done that. You think?
Yeah, right. Guys, we're supposed to go for the math in the parentheses.
Yes, that's right. Who calculated this in centimeters? Oh, dear God, no.
Oh, that would just
Frank!
be such a kick in the groin.
Well, they did that with one of the Mars landers and destroyed the whole mission.
Yeah. I mean, it happens.
Yeah.
You live and you learn for billions and billions of dollars.
I think it was the Mars polar lander, right?
Possibly.
You know? Yeah.
I don't
think
remember.
so. Okay.
Yeah. Crazy.
Yeah.
But it's amazing. That thing is, 5 days ago, right? So it's almost, well, I was going to say 2 times the distance that the moon is, but it's, getting there. What's a moon? 238,000?
240,000 on average. Yeah.
Yeah. I like my number better. Thank you.
Okay. You may have it.
238,000 miles. Now it's at
Really
416,000. So that thing is just moving.
Ooh, did you see what I did there? Yes. So now, Dr. Mark in Texas says he watched the show about this with NASA, and it says that they had to get all the deployments done before it got there because of the extreme low temperatures. Well, Dr. Mark, if you look here on the right side of the screen, you can see the current temperatures right now. On the dark side, it's minus 229 degrees Fahrenheit already. So it's really cold as it is. Really, really cold. All right. So I'm pretty sure that this is something that you can look up the temperature data too if you like when you get to the website and enjoy it. Okay. But you got to keep in mind that it's also highly reflective. So the only thing that happens in space is things either absorb radiation or they radiate radiation. There is no conduction like in the air. If it's a warm day, you feel warm because that warm air, those molecules touch your skin reacts by heating up, and you get that conducted heat into your skin. If we had no atmosphere, it could be a beautiful sunny day, but you would not enjoy it. Okay? On the dark side of you, it would be minus 200 degrees, and on the front side, maybe it'll be 70 degrees or 80 degrees. And that would spell your death pretty quick. So, atmosphere kind of evens everything out. All right? I'm not sure, Dr. Mark, to answer your question, if that is the reason, because it's already very cold. I thought they would deploy everything before they got there because they could, and that would give them time to troubleshoot some things ahead of time. But it could be what you said. I don't know for sure. I'm really interested to find out that answer, though. And then Isabella asks, where in the web are those reaction wheels located? I actually tried to find that information because I know where they are in the Kepler. I know where they are in the Google Earth Telescope system because I was in the high bay when that was being built, and I was actually photographing the reaction wheels. They're actually buried inside the mechanism of the telescope. And I'm going to go back to this guy right here for a second, and let's go down here. I think the reaction wheels are in here somewhere. I tried looking for them today, looking in here earlier, and the reaction wheels were not modeled in this model, but I believe they're inside this basic box. You'll notice also something very interesting here. There are thrusters. See that? These are thrusters. These thrusters are used to do course corrections and to do some really interesting things to help keep the web doing its job. Those are going to be used to help point the web in a course manner, and then the reaction wheels will help hold it in position. And it has enough, like I said, enough fuel for 10 years.
It's amazing how small they make this thing look. You know, in actuality, this thing is absolutely enormous.
Oh yeah, check it out. Let me show you that. This is a view. Here it is in a bay. Okay, and they have the entire all the sun shield deployed just to make sure it all works. And you'll notice a different color here on this lowest sun shield. That's the one facing the sun, and then you have these other ones higher up. Okay, so what's that for? Well, let's see if we get a closer look at this. I'll get back to those other ones. Here we go. So if we look at this guy, you'll see 1, 2, 3, 4, and there's a fifth layer somewhere, I thought. But anyway, that might not be deployed here. But this one is this color because this is the most important layer, because it's going to stop most of the sunlight, and it's going to reflect back most of the sunlight. But because it's connected to the other systems via these ends here, these ends down here and here, and at the end here, it's going to conduct some heat. And so each successive layer is designed to allow less and less and less heat up this way toward the business end of the telescope, which is that guy up there with the telescope. There you can see the mirrors are in the stowed position, right? These three are back here behind, and these three are back here behind. Important starboard mirrors. And it's a bank of 3, and when it comes out, then all 18 will be out there to see. All right. So that said, the sun shield is going to have less and less and less heat making it here, so that by the time it gets here, very little, if any, heat will be able to get transmitted through and reach the instrument.
Dude, look how little that thing makes those little boom lips look in the background.
I know, right? Yeah, look at that.
They look like
that's
little
a boom
Tonka
lift
toys.
that's going up several stories, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah.
This looks like a small room, like the corner of a large bedroom or something.
Yeah, like you think like that big like brown area in the back behind the booms is the door, and then you look to the left in the bottom left corner and you see like the actual door, and you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah, it's a very, very this sun shield, just so you get an idea, this sun shield right here from front to back is 75 feet long. It's as big as a tennis court. That's pretty big.
It's huge.
You know? Yeah, that's very big. So in a rough scale, here is the deployment schedule, and we're kind of here right now, and then we're going to be doing these mid booms will be coming out here next, and then you'll see that farther down the line there's other things going on in here. You know, the mirror segments are going to fold into position right in here and here, but then once they're folded into position, something else happens. Then this secondary stalk comes down. You see where it is now? It's right up here. It's folded up against the telescope, right? And then it's going to be bopped down, and I want to show you that process because that's kind of cool looking. Let's go look at that. So, where is that? It's going to be in the deployment steps. Let's go explore all the deployments. And let's look at the next deployment steps. Let's see here. Moving forward down here.
What do you think the first thing they're going to point this thing at? Do they already have a plan in place?
Oh my gosh, the scientists are vying like you can't believe for time on this thing.
Yeah, but
Okay.
I mean, they had to strategically pick the first thing they're going to view with this thing.
Yeah,
Do
you know what?
Do you know what it is?
Actually, why don't we have a chat look for that? Because I don't know what it is.
There you go, chat. So D'Antonio's chat over at SkyTour Livestream and a P&K chat over here. If anybody knows if they have a plan on
What's
what
Webb's
to look
first
at
target?
first. What is Webb's first target?
Yep.
Let us know if it's been put anywhere.
Yep.
I'm pretty sure they have.
They do. They have it set up already.
Yeah, or they have a goal of, a certain thing. But I wonder what it is. Like, what do they find the most important? It's like, okay, we have this telescope. Everything's working. Now, what are we pointing it at?
It
Like that
depends
first
which science.
thing.
It depends which science team got first pick.
Well, what did the Hubble do?
Well, Hubble tried to look at a galaxy, and it ended up being out of focus, and everybody went, ah!
Right. Okay, let's not hope for a repeat of that, but
Yeah.
still.
Yeah. So here, in the case of the James Webb, I suspect they're going to probably look at something that they can see from that current position. Keep in mind, it's orbiting the sun. So it has only a few things it can look at, right? It can't ever face the sun. So it can only see farther out into space looking in the direction that it's currently facing. It's orbiting, remember. It's not sitting out there, sitting still. It's going around the sun, all right? And it's just in a position where the Earth's gravity and the moon's gravity are offset by its distance from the sun, by the James Webb's distance from the sun, and the fact that it's moving in an orbit of its own. So at the speed it's moving, it's a location that exactly counteracts the gravitational forces of the Earth, the sun, and the moon. And so that's why the thing can stay in orbit there in a parking spot like that. And that is good for the Webb, but you got to understand that it's going to be moving in kind of an elliptical orbit out there. And that orbit is going to be sort of a wobble, kind of a wobbling orbit. That's important to keep the Webb on station. All right. Now, let's take a look at this video of the secondary mirror so you can see how it comes down. See how that thing comes down over the top? These two things here are straight, and then that locks in. And now the secondary mirror is in place. And here you see that the side mirrors are folded back still in this image. Okay. Okay, and now Greggy Gilding is saying the first three things have been announced. The Webb will observe the three largest low albedo asteroids, as well as the Trojan asteroids, allowing us to peer into the origins of our solar system. We'll also investigate Jupiter's Great Red Spot, that I knew, didn't know when, Neptune's South Polar Vortex, geological phenomena on Saturn's moons, and the atmosphere on the planet itself. All
That's
good.
why I love our subscribers.
Isn't it great?
They can get
They
answers
know
like
everything.
super
if you
quick.
just ask them to look.
Good job, Greggy.
You know? Yeah, thank you, Greggy. So I think that's cool. Very cool. And now let's go back for a minute, because now let's talk about when the primary mirror shows up or gets deployed. So this is what's going to happen. If you notice, see how that swings around? Right. That swings around. Now there you go. Now we got much of the mirror deployed, and then the other half will have to be deployed next. And then we'll have the full Webb Space Telescope mirror. All right. And
It's like a giant transformer.
It is. It is. And each of then once those are all swung around, then they're going to be adjusted to their final positions so that they reflect directly into the secondary mirror. if they're not adjusted properly, then each mirror could be reflecting to a different spot on this secondary mirror here. And that would be no good. They should all go to the same spot so that all that can go down through the center. Now, when I say the center, I'm talking about this right here. This little area right here on James Webb this right there is where the light goes down through. Okay, it goes through this and goes down into the instrumentation detector, which is actually at the back side of the telescope. Right, and it's in here where that is located. And of course, I'm inside the telescope right now. Let me get out. Yeah, that's me. There we go.
Sir, can you quit crawling on the James Webb Space Telescope,
yes,
please?
Please stop crawling on there. Please stop it, please.
You're getting footprints on it.
Yeah, that's right. So now you know what this is. This is the aft momentum flap. Okay, and we see what we talked about earlier, and that is that the telescope, we saw it go away for the very last time. And I just want to make sure I just bring it over here like this so we can see that. We saw it go away for the last time. You saw these solar panels that had been deployed and this circular back of the telescope. That's all you saw. These other things then folded out. All these things fold out. And we saw that gives us the James Webb that we expect to see. In fact, this view right here is kind of good because it sort of shows us sort of how the Webb's going to work. Okay, the sun's going to be on this side, and then on this side it's going to be dark all the time. All right, I have a little extra light on here just for now, just to show that. But isn't that cool? And that kind of gives us an idea of how it looks and what it's going to do.
314-page checklist.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That they checked and rechecked and rechecked and rechecked every single point.
Well, to get this right here, to get this sunshade up, needs over 100 systems to work properly to get that sunshade tensioned properly.
Yeah.
Over 100, just there. You know? And just, you can't even imagine. Okay, first of all, there's another thing, too, that has to happen. It gets to this point. It's fully deployed. It's ready to start doing some work. It's still not ready. They have to calibrate it. Okay? They have to go through calibrating everything that the James Webb sensors can see. And that calibration process is going to take several weeks to do anyway. You know?
Yeah. I can't wait.
Yeah. Yeah. Isabella, I am making a small model. This is actually what you see here. This is a part of the model that I'm making to actually make a physical model of the James Webb. I got a part behind me somewhere. It's a failed 3D print part. I was trying to see how small it could go, and I'm gonna have to go a little bigger. It's probably gonna end up being about 8 inches long.
Giggity.
It might be about that big. Yeah.
Giggity giggity goo. Okay, Peter.
Yeah. So you see that? Now we have been, I remember you and I talking about this, Keith, a while back. We've been talking about the fact that this telescope represents a huge leap forward. It's the most important mission that humans have ever put up into space next to the Hubble Space Telescope.
I believe I have said that, and I've said this for a couple of years now, that this telescope is going to be as big for space exploration as Apollo, as Gemini. You know, that's how big I think it is, and I don't think people are taking it that way. Like astronomers, of course, people into astronomy are, but this is going to be big just for regular people.
Yeah.
Mark my words. See what I did there?
I think you're right. Yes, marked your words. Now let's talk about this L2. What what's so special about L2? Well, there's 5 Lagrange points. All right, we have L1, L2, and L3, which are all in a line, and then L4 and L5, which are in our orbit ahead and behind us. Now, L1, L2, and L3 are L1 and L2 are toward the sun on the sun side. Sorry, L1 and L3 are on the sun side. L2 is beyond the moon, and those are they're called metastable. They're not fully stable Lagrange points. They're metastable, meaning that they're only partially stable. They still need fuel to hold their station there. But the L4 and the L5 positions in the orbit of the Earth, those are actually stable and don't require anything additional. The problem is we couldn't put the Webb out there because then we'd have the Earth and the Moon over there, and we'd have the Sun over there, and we'd have a very limited angle through which we could see in full darkness, and we need full darkness. So we're going to keep that sunshade angled at the Earth-Moon system and the Sun for the entirety of this telescope's lifetime, which, by the way, it's just past the Moon now, and it's 46% of the way. If you felt like it, you could do a calculation. I know Isabella could. Do the calculation to figure out how far out it's going to be when it's 100% of the way. And that distance, I'll tell you, is just over 1 million miles from the Earth.
By the way, may I say good job to Isabella when she came on with you that one night? I did end up catching, not live, but I caught it the next day.
Yeah,
good job.
She did a great job. She was very, very, she was like all apologetic because she said, oh, my English is so bad. It wasn't so bad.
No, not at all. I understood everything.
She speaks better English than a lot of people that are supposed to be able to speak English.
Like me.
Yeah, like you's there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, I'll tell you, this is kind of cool. So let's just see. Okay, so to the L2 orbit, we have 482,150 miles to go. Sorry, 148, 147. Okay, and it's counting down slowly, obviously. But you'll find very quickly that when these numbers are equal, then we'll be at 50% of the way there. And our cruising speed is going to consistently go down a little bit more each way. And the hot side is this temperature, the cold side is that temperature. And I don't know where they're measuring the temperature from on the hot side and the cold side. You have to understand there's no temperature in space. So this is kind of misleading. This is temperatures of instruments, okay? Temperatures, say, of the fabric or the surface of the mirrors, which we're going to talk about, okay? And because, as I said, temperature, if you look at temperature, temperature requires pressure, and it's something that we don't have out in space. We don't have pressure. So temperature is really undefined. Okay, we need a substance through which the temperature can move or conduct. We don't have that in space. So that's why things in space don't conduct heat as much as they absorb radiation and then radiate that emission away, radiate that radiation. So we have radiation and absorption in space, if you think of it that way. And it might seem like a small distinction, but it really isn't, because if you were a millimeter away from the sunshade on the backside, which was minus, well, let's say on the sun side, which was, say, 100 degrees Fahrenheit, right? And you had your hand like this, and you were 1 millimeter away from that sunshade. On the Earth, you'd feel the heat from that 100 degrees hitting you, right? Well, in space, you wouldn't feel that heat hitting you, but you'd feel the infrared radiation that might be reflecting off of it. That's what you would feel. That's what you would feel. So it's
kind of like when you have a sunburn, but you go out with a shirt on, but you still feel the heat through your shirt.
Sorta.
Yeah,
kind of, sort of, but it's not. Again, you're feeling the radiation. You're not feeling the actual. You're not actually feeling.
Well, that's what I mean. When you get a sunburn, you're very sensitive. So when you're wearing a shirt and the sun still hits it, you still feel that. You know what I mean?
Yes, because the shirt is conducting heat. The shirt's conducting the heat. Okay? But in space, that same shirt, if you put your hand near it, you wouldn't or had that shirt on you, you could feel the heat if it conducts to your body. But if there was an air layer between, or just a gap of vacuum between you and the shirt, you wouldn't feel it. All right? You wouldn't feel it. So you'd only feel what the shirt fabric could absorb and then radiate out. You have to think about that. Hey, James Dugan. Charles Smar, hi there. How are you?
Hello. And in my chat, I should say hi to Justin T. And, of course, C&D Boy and OG Skywatch and Carmen and everybody else. Now, what did we agree on? Keisha or Keisha?
I think it's Keisha Fowler.
I think it is. Yeah, I think you're right. And everybody else in the P&K chat. We are simulcasting tonight live from the Sky Tour live stream with Marc Dantonio. Checking out the James Webb Space Telescope. Kind of chilling. It's a chill night. Everybody's hanging out. Feel free to jump in the chat, say what you want. It's not a professional night. We're just going over. We're kind of just fangirling over here over the James Webb, as we have been waiting for this for a very, very long time. Well, yeah, we are. We so are. How long have we been waiting for this?
We've been waiting for it for way too long.
Exactly.
Way too long.
So, yes.
All right.
And I'll jump into your thing. Just say Nick Tesla and Dr. Mark. And, of course, you already mentioned Charles and Isabella. And, yeah. So thanks for everybody for joining us on both channels. Hope everybody had a wonderful holiday season. Happy Christmas Hanukkah to everybody.
Well,
and and I hope everybody has a good year coming up. Don't get too excited over it, because we thought 2021 was going to be like, oh, it's going to be so much better. Wrong.
I will be.
So let's hope.
This guy, I can't believe he did it. He gets on the air on CNN and he says something like, no lie, he goes, to the people that are vaccinated, you can still catch COVID and die. And to the people that are unvaccinated, it's going to be a winter of death. That's exactly what this stupid guy said. You know,
so an optimist, huh?
Great way to pump up the population, man.
Yeah.
You know?
Dude, that's what every news channel, man. That's why I don't even watch it anymore.
Can't stand that crap.
Between MSNBC and CNN and Fox, like, they're all just opinion shows anymore and not anything to do with news.
MSLSD, the Clearly Not News Network, you got it. You know.
Yeah. It's just they're all like agenda driven. So it's like you want to actually read news about United States,
like accurate. BBC.
Yeah, they go to the BBC.
Sky News Australia tells it like it is too.
Who?
Sky News Australia. See this heart? Yeah. This is where the observatory is located, guys, and you'll notice that there's clouds moving through here. There's big white masses. These are clouds. So we can't stream from the observatory tonight. That's why we're not doing it. Otherwise, we'd be talking about the James Webb from there, but we can't. Right? So I'll just let you know why. But so yeah, so there you go.
Oh, by the way, off topic, as I do. Are you at all planning to put a solar scope out in Arizona?
I have one here, and I was thinking about doing that, but I have to automate it. And right now, I'm working on the lifting columns, because the telescope is going to have, I should say telescopes, plural, in the building out there. Yes, you heard me say.
Well, you don't have an observatory in Connecticut anymore, correct?
Well, Sky Tour East is still planned. I still have a plan for it. Okay, right. I just.
Well, here's why I'm asking. What if I just contacted you on a weekend and said, "Hey, Mark, why don't you get that solar scope out and just point it at the sun? Let's check that out for a couple hours."
Well, I would have to get a camera for it.
Oh.
I don't have a camera for it. I have a little bit of work to do to make that solar capable.
Hello to Ray's Astrophotography. Ray, we need to have a talk sometime soon. Myself and Mr. D'Antonio here and yourself to see what we can do about maybe having you come on board to do some astro imaging, because we're trying to get a bunch of amateur astronomers together. And you were the first name that popped up. But anyway, I will talk to that. I had messaged you on Instagram. I'm just saying this now because I don't know when I'm going to be able to talk to him again. Just find that message me back, and then we'll get hooked up that way, and we'll see about getting some stuff done. But great job, Ray's. Anybody that wants some astrophotography, check out Ray's Astrophotography on YouTube here. It's fantastic, and the guy he's going places. I love it.
Great job, Ray. Keep
awesome
it up.
job.
Yeah.
Now you may continue, sir. What state of the James Webb are we going to now?
We're checking out the different release phases, but let's go through the full deployment. Okay, so this is the full deployment of the James Webb. This is kind of fun. So this is the nominal or expected release. All right.
Yeah.
So there's the solar panel. That's what we saw, and I showed you that in the digital model.
Right.
All right. And then the high gain antenna, which you couldn't really see. And this is something that came down the other day. This is something that is down now. And now the telescope raises up on the platform. And here comes the momentum flap we talked about before. And now that membrane cover, that happened today. Okay. So now we talk about what happens next. Now the mid-boom antenna comes out, bringing the sun shield cluster, everything with the sun shield out with it. And the other one goes out the same way. And as it does, all right, now it's going to stretch that out. And then there's going to be the tensioning sequence, okay? And there it goes. And it lifts all the layers up. And they get back into place. And then the secondary mirror boom.
Which is just like a fancy tripod.
Yeah. Yeah. And then it's put out what's called a radiator. All right. A radiator is good because the radiator will be radiating away excess heat.
Wow, look at that.
Gets carried on there. Okay. And this is the orbital injection burn. This is where it now goes into the L2 location. And after that, it's going to be an L2, man. And the L2 system, or the L2 location, is, again, metastable. It's not fully stable, so it's going to have to be a powered orbit that uses very little fuel to keep it there, but it's going to have to be held there. You know?
Mm-hmm.
So that's unfortunate. But it's okay. It's the only place it can really go.
Dude, this is just, it's a feat of engineering.
Oh gosh, I mean, if you actually look at the full number of steps that are required to do each and every step, okay, all the sub steps, I mean, it's phenomenal. But keep in mind, people have been kind of not down on it, but have been skeptical that it could work. Remember how the Perseverance rover landed on Mars? Remember how Curiosity landed on Mars? They used this sky crane, this amazing system where, once it got to Mars, which is a feat in and of itself, considering that the rocket was heading to a place in empty space, and Mars caught up to them, and they intersected Mars because Mars was going through its orbit. So the system was always heading toward empty space until near the end of the encounter where it actually got to Mars. That's when Mars showed up in its view. So then it has an aeroshell, goes through the atmosphere. The aeroshell drops off after the heating is done. And now it's got this crane and the lander sandwiched like this, falling through. A parachute drops out to kind of make it slow down a little bit, right? And then as it drops down, all right, it gets to the point where it cuts the parachute away, and now the whole thing starts falling again. But as it does so, rockets on this guy start firing and hold it hovering just a few feet above Mars, and then lowers the entire lander on a tether down to the surface, and then cuts the tethers, all four tethers, and all four of those wires had to be cut properly, and bounds off and crashes. And now the rover's on Mars. We did that 2 times completely successfully. I don't know. I'm beginning to think we could do anything. And the rovers were designed to last 90 days. Spirit and Opportunity each, which were delivered as like those giant tether balls that bounced. Okay. That was a whole nother delivery system. And that worked 2 times perfectly. And when it got to Mars, Spirit and Opportunity were expected to live for 3 months. Okay. They went on for years and years and years each. That's pretty good. And if you think about it, the only reason that they broke down was because of natural occurring catastrophes. Like the wheels of Spirit got bogged down, I think. But the wheels going over those rocks year after year after year finally wore through and broke. Some of the wheel areas were broken, and it ended up having a wheel that didn't work anymore. And so Spirit got bogged down and stuck in one position. Eventually that led to its demise, because it could no longer move to a location where it could get the sun adequately. And keeping a heater going to keep the batteries warm and keep the heat going inside internally was very important on Mars, where the temperatures routinely get down below 100 below zero. And Opportunity kept going and going and going and going, like the Energizer Bunny, man. And then finally, a dust storm put enough dust on its panels that we lost communication with it. And after the dust storm had abated, the temperature had been too cold for too long on board. The heaters failed, obviously, without power. And with a 0 power budget, the lifespan is reduced to mere hours, perhaps. So that was the end of Opportunity after many years. It was supposed to be 90 days. So, I don't know, man. Jet Propulsion Laboratory engineers great things. European Space Agency, which engineered this. It was built, I think, over in the Netherlands and assembled in part at the Goddard Space Flight Center, then shipped down to New Guinea, where it was launched. So it was truly a $10 billion gamble by all involved, and it was actually made up and made to be a system truly for the planet. It was made by technologies from all over our world. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah. I just put a poll up on the P&K channel about what should NASA's next primary mission be, just to see what people say.
I think it should be the Europa Clipper.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, it's kind of one of the options. Your 4 options are: go back to the moon, send humans to Mars, clearing the Earth's orbit of debris, or other moons, i.e. Europa.
Oh, okay.
Let's see what it says. Let's see what the people think. And if you're on SkyTour Livestream, you can jump over to P&K and vote if you want to. It's up to you.
I do so.
That's right there on the chat.
Yeah, just keep in mind that, the interesting thing about NASA missions is, why does it have to be only one of those things? Okay.
Well, you know how NASA always has a primary mission,
Yeah, but
primary
what's the
focus
ESA's next primary mission?
I'm thinking more and less of funds, which they should apply most amount of funds to.
What's JAXA's next primary? That's Japanese, the Japanese space agency, JAXA. Mm-hmm. What's their next project going to be?
But a lot of people are overlooking clearing Earth's orbit of debris. I mean, that's going to become a major concern very soon, and nobody's going to be doing nothing unless we start paying attention to that.
Actually, there's actually some projects already been discussed in NASA circles about cleaning out dead satellites from orbit. It's difficult in that we have to get up to them. However, it's something that we can do, and it doesn't require a lot to get rid of them once we're there, because what we can do is actually bump them into a lower orbit. And if you have something orbiting in a perfect circle and you hit it from the top, you bump it, now it's going to go on a different trajectory, and it's going to go into an elliptical orbit, and that orbit may decay. And if that decays, it's eventually going to re-enter the Earth's atmosphere. So that bump has to be a very carefully orchestrated, properly set up bumping, okay, that will put it in a specific known orbit where it won't endanger anything else. But keep in mind, there's been cases where satellites collided with each other, and every piece of debris that comes off becomes a new piece of space junk. So there's literally millions of pieces of space junk up there.
Yeah.
Terrible.
It's like how far, because we as humans always have a problem with this. Like, we push the limits so much, and we're proud of what we do without forward thinking about what we're causing. And then all of a sudden it becomes a problem when we least expect it. Like now with this, I call it the new space race, because basically in the last 5 years we've had, of course, SpaceX and Blue Origin and NASA and, the EU, and everybody's jumping in China, and that's all that stuff going up there, and we're just creating tons and tons and tons of garbage. And pretty soon somebody's going to have to do something about it.
Well, what you're alluding to,
and it should be a collaborative effort to clean it up among all the spacefaring countries.
I think so. And what you're alluding to, the elephant in the room here, is that the problem is that it could get so crowded up there, that we might not be able to leave the Earth's surface, because we will be putting ourselves in too much danger. Yeah. We might be trapped here because of our own debris. So that's gonna be, it's gonna come to a head. It's gonna be something very important. Right now, we're nowhere even remotely close to that. Okay, we have hundreds of years of many more satellites, thousands of years of many more satellites going up before that becomes even a radar blip. Consider, give you an idea. Cassini went plunging through Saturn's rings. When you look at Saturn's rings in the P&K SpaceImaging telescopes, by the way, you see these beautiful rings. They look solid, but they're not. They're actually a very thin layer of ice crystals, ice particles. All right, some large as a house, some tiny, like just a millimeter or two across, and everything in between. So this material has space between it, right? But they sent Cassini through it. Now, Cassini was moving at tens of thousands of miles an hour relative to these particles in the ring. So the impact of a tiny 1 millimeter sized particle at a speed of, say, 25,000 miles an hour could rip it to shreds. Okay, a little BB sized particle actually would rip it to shreds. So they said, nah, we're not worried about any particles hitting it, because statistics are on our side. And they were. And it went plunging through the rings. I think it went twice through the rings, actually. So it's pretty cool. So, interesting fact about Saturn's rings, by the way, and what I'm talking about by the way, is in comparison to like the satellites and so forth, the artificial stuff in our Earth orbit, it's going to be a long time, because there really is a lot of room up there, more than we're led to believe, more than you're led to believe by discussions. But one thing that's of course very important is that when you look at Saturn's rings, get a good look now, because they're going away. Did you know that?
They're going away, folks.
Saturn's rings are evaporating. That is to say, they're circling Saturn, but they're a transient phenomena. They're going away. And so they're actually on Saturn's upper atmosphere at the equatorial region of Saturn. Ring particles are spiraling into the equatorial region, and it's actually going in, and the rings will be gone in, I forget what the time frame is, a couple million years it's going to be gone, and Saturn will return to just being a yellow planet without a ring.
Still a beautiful yellow planet, but a yellow planet nonetheless.
Especially the way P&K SpaceImaging shows it in their telescopes.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, P&K SpaceImaging are lunar and planetary observers, and they are without parallel. Okay,
that's coming back at you in 2022.
Yeah,
streaming like we used to.
I hope so, man.
Hey,
So,
we warned everybody last year that we were going to be skimpy this year.
skimpy.
We did give everybody a warning that we weren't going to be streaming as much this year, but come next year, we will be back at it.
Keith is wearing
like
his
you've
skimpy
never
telescope.
seen before.
You've been wearing your skimpy telescope for some time now. It's time to get
I'll be out in my Hubble Space Telescope banana hammock getting a moon burn.
Well, it's better than being in the Hubble Space Telescope.
Right. That's how it goes.
Yeah. It's something interesting, about this NASA website, which again you can all get to. It's off of nasa.gov. Just look up James Webb Space Telescope current location, or live James Webb Space Telescope location, and that'll bring you to this website, and you'll be able to actually check it out and see what's going on. If you notice, in the time that we've been talking, the numbers obviously are changing, right? The cruising speed in miles per second has changed. It was 0.45. It's a little bit higher right now. It was actually over 0.5 earlier, and now it's gone up to 0.47. I'm not sure what's going on. It's possible that they're doing some kind of burns or whatever to do whatever they have to do. This is telemetry coming back from.
Let's see here.
What?
We got some numbers back.
Okay.
So out of all the poll questions, 38%, which was the top one, says we should go back to the moon. Coming up in a close number 2 is send humans to Mars. Number 3 was cleaning the Earth's orbit of debris. Tied with other moons, Europa.
Okay.
So yeah, the people say go back to the moon. That was the top one.
Yeah, going back to the moon is important. I think we should go back to the moon before we go to Mars, and the reason for that is because we have lots of technology that we need to exploit and figure out here, relatively close to the Earth, where a rescue mission is actually within the realm of possibility. Mars, people say, well, it has an atmosphere. I see clouds. In fact, you can see all kinds of clouds on Mars. The trouble is that the Martian atmosphere might as well be a vacuum to humans. It's so low pressure, 6 millibars compared to 1,000 plus millibars that we have here, that it might as well be a vacuum as far as we're concerned technically. So anything that we develop to work on the moon, we could use to work on Mars effectively. So that's pretty cool. The one thing that I think is the biggest development, however, is the MOXIE instrument on the Perseverance rover. What is that? MOXIE is a drink my father used to buy, but MOXIE stands for Mars Oxygen In Situ Experiment, and it means that this particular device, it was the size of a car battery on the Perseverance rover, but imagine these as massive building-sized structures on Mars, working within domed habitats. MOXIE extracts carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, which is 98% of the Martian atmosphere. It releases a little carbon monoxide, which is carbon and oxygen, and O2. Ta-da! It makes oxygen that we can breathe. And this experiment on Mars, the Perseverance rover, successfully demonstrated that its MOXIE unit worked just fine and generated oxygen. Now, why is that such a big deal? That's a big deal because we need oxygen, obviously, to breathe, but we need it for something else. Rocket fuel. Conventional
Kaboom.
rockets. Yes, we need that. Okay? We need to have oxygen for rocket fuel. So if we can make our own oxygen, we can make our own rocket fuel to get back off of Mars. Hey there, Ralph Wooden. I see Ralph is here. You were here for a while, actually. So rocket fuel is needed. So that's what the MOXIE experiment did on Mars. So we went from having to bring all our own oxygen to Mars to being able to make it once we get there.
Huge plus.
It is. And we don't have to build or generate our water either. We don't have to bring it with us. That doesn't have to get built into our spaceship design, having water. tanks, because Mars has so much water that it's absolutely incredible. We actually found liquid water on Mars, and it's not on the surface because it's so low in pressure, which is a very interesting conundrum why Mars pressure stays around 6 millibars. I can talk about that some other time. But Mars is basically self-balancing, and it sometimes gets higher pressure, but then bleeds it off. It's really odd. But down below the Martian South Polar Cap is, I think it's like 2 miles down underneath the ground. There is an 11 kilometers actually, 11 kilometer reservoir of liquid water. And it's not frozen because it's actually quite briny. Like the bottom of the ocean, you see brine ponds on the bottom of our oceans. So you go down the ocean, you go down to the bottom, and you see a pond. You see the rippling surface. And it's actually denser water because of the brine, salt that's in it. And it actually, for all the world, looks like a pond. And you're in the water yourself. But it's as if you're in the air looking down at a pond. And you can touch it and move it around and splash it just like on the surface. But it's really weird.
Why does this sound like a stoner conversation? Like, bro,
I don't know, man.
Be in a pond and it's salty.
Yeah, the brine pond, man.
It's a brine pond, man. It's like the Great Salt Lakes without the great.
Yeah. But that's actually what's underneath the Martian South Polar Cap, is a very briny type water reservoir. Yeah. JSCO 77, how you doing?
We said we were talking about this before about terraforming Mars, and we would need to make a man-made, what was it?
Magnetic field.
Magnetosphere? Yeah.
Yeah, magnetosphere. Yep.
Yeah. That's the one thing, the one major thing we need, but we can create one far enough away, kind of. Didn't we talk about that, where we can put something in between? That's right.
And I can actually show you exactly what I mean by that. Let me just look this up here.
It's like putting a big space umbrella out there.
Yeah. Okay, let's take a look at this. Take a look at this image.
So it can be done.
Remember I talked about the Lagrange points L1, L2, and L3?
Yes.
They're in a line. These are the ones that are metastable. They're not stable. So you have to have energy expended to keep whatever goes there. Okay? L4 and L5 are stable, and you don't need anything there. So, these Lagrange points... Sorry.
Get yourself some water, man.
I got one. I've been drinking it, but it's just like... It's making me gag more.
Giggity.
Sorry. Okay. All right. I'm back. Back in the New York groove. Okay. Ricola, yeah. So these are the metastable points. These are the stable points. Okay. So there are some asteroids at L4 and L5. They're just sort of floating in our orbit. Okay. And those are asteroids that are basically in that they're the near Earth. They're near Earth objects, but they're in a stable spot, so they're not going to pose a danger to us. They move in orbit just like we do. Okay, things at L2 orbit as well, like the James Webb Space Telescope is going to orbit. Okay, and then we have the Earth and the Moon. This obviously is not to scale, right? But if you think about it, that's pretty cool. And this is, these L2, L1, L2, and L3, L4, and L5 were discovered several centuries ago. And they were a consequence of orbital mechanics and dynamics, where people said, is there any place in space where the forces sort of balance? And
by the way, that's the definition of a Lagrange point, if anybody was wondering. It's a balancing act.
It is, that's right.
Just for people that, are casual viewers.
Yeah. Yep. So that is the L4 position and L5. That's where they sort of balance. but they're balanced by the fact that these things are in orbit moving. If they were just sitting still in space, well, they would just fall into the sun, right? They have to be orbiting.
Just say casually. Well, they would just fall into the sun.
That's right.
Have a fiery
But
death.
at L2, see L2, again, if you look, okay, just imagine the sunshade back here facing the Earth, the Moon, and the Sun. You can see that everything out here is visible, and it'll be in the dark, right? So that's really cool. Now, one thing that might happen out there, incidentally, which is kind of interesting, is that when we look at the solar system, and we look beyond the solar system and other things, we're going to be viewing it through some warmth already, because we have some light pollution all throughout our solar system, all right, that will have infrared energy or heat radiating from it. And those are little dust particles in our own solar system, the things that create things, a phenomenon called the zodiacal light, all right? Well, those are little particles of dust in our solar system's plane. Well, the James Webb Telescope isn't out of our solar system plane. It's in it. It's immersed in it, just like the Earth is immersed in it, and the Moon, and all the other planets. So, that said, we're going to have... I want to know, actually, how the debris dust, and the leftover primordial dust in our solar system affects the James Webb. That's part of the calibration process. They're going to have to take a picture of deep space, and they're going to have to get calibration frames, because this is what I would do, right? You get these calibration frames. It tells you, okay, are we seeing any infrared energy here? And there's going to be some noise. And that noise, okay, is going to be the noise from this intersolar system dust that's out there, right? Mm-hmm. And that's going to have to be dealt with for every single observation. And it's not just a generic number. It's going to have to be taken every time they go to a new object. They have to be off of it, take some frames, I'm guessing, figure out the component of the solar system dust that's in it, and then they subtract that off of their readings that they get from their object.
You know what I was going to ask you? And you might have went over this in a past stream. The imaging system on the James Webb runs mostly in the infrared, correct?
Yeah.
And
actually, we did a radio show. We talked about all the different frequencies it was going to hit, but there's it's got a tiny little window into the visible end of the red spectrum, very, very small.
So when they process it, are they processing it on the grayscale, basically assigning colors to different shades of gray?
Different
and then to colorize stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And different frequencies.
Right.
Yeah, different frequencies will. Because let's suppose you're looking at, say, a radio jet. Okay, mm-hmm. A radio jet is a object that'll be far out in the infrared, the radio world, right? And let's suppose they look at a radio jet, and they probably will. Depending on the frequencies received, you're going to see one part of the radio jet. Then the next set of frequencies, you'll see the next radio jet particle. Then maybe the bulk of the radio jet's in a different frequency altogether. And so they would actually be able to put all those together to make one final image, and they'll probably make those all different colors. Okay. If you recall the black hole in Messier 87 in the constellation Virgo, that big giant elliptical galaxy, we imaged it using the Event Horizon Telescope, which used the entire Earth's diameter and various telescopes on the Earth that were taking measurements and looking at this black hole. And as the Earth rotated, these telescopes kept looking at it and kept taking images. And together, the sum total of all these telescopes looking at an 8,000 mile diameter Earth made it effectively a very crude 8,000 mile diameter telescope. And so with that kind of resolution, we were able to resolve and see the black hole in a galaxy tens of millions of light years away. And the picture we got looked just like what was predicted by Einstein. So it was a major feat. That was called the Event Horizon Telescope. So that that process looks in the radio part of the spectrum. So remember that image, though, we saw in shades of orange. Now, they probably picked orange because orange is out in the red part of the spectrum, so red reminds people it's in the red part of the spectrum. And we might see a lot of these monotone images from the James Webb, but different frequencies and different special frequency objects will probably be shown in different colors.
What's the data delay coming back from the James Webb?
I think it's
Time-wise.
only 11 seconds.
That's not bad at all.
It's only 11 seconds to James Webb.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're talking, and once it's L2, once it's out there at L2, it's going to be about 11 seconds. You know.
That's
Which
too
isn't
shabby.
bad. Not so bad.
It's not.
No.
Not at all.
But it's forever if it's forever if you're the guy that gave it the wrong command and in 11 seconds you're done.
Yeah, right. Like, whoops.
No, delete.
I just have this remember the old movie Airplane?
Oh,
you had
gosh,
you had the bald guy like running around in the air traffic control, just causing all kinds of, like, unplugging the lights and everything. Like, I can see one of those guys for NASA.
That's right. All right, tell me what happened so far. Well, first the dinosaurs, first the Earth formed, then dinosaurs ruled the Earth. Rawr, you know?
Well, Bob, what do you think? Ugh, that outfit. Ugh.
Right. I remember. Yeah.
That's cool. All right, where are we at on the timeline? Okay, so we already went up. We watched all the videos.
Yeah. So we saw the time. Yeah, saw the videos. Now we're just we're shooting the breeze about it. And I did want to show one more thing just to give you an idea. This is another product I use called Rhino, and this shows the boom that's deploying right now without anything else on it. This is just that. Okay, these are those side booms here that go out, and you don't see the membranes on here. I took those off. I took off the James Webb. I took off the telescope, which is here. All right. I took off the solar panels, took off everything. I took off the membrane covers, which were over here, okay, that rolled up. And so you can just see what this thing looks like there. This is what's unfurling and unfolding right now.
Dude, it's just like you stole the James Webb hubcaps. You just left the skeleton left.
That's right. I stole the hubcaps off the James Webb.
Yeah.
You know? But no, it's a nice, it's good because it shows the detail properly.
Yeah.
You know, so the
it's a 3D image source, or a rhinoceros.
It's a rhinoceros model, yes.
Rhinoceros model.
Isabella, thank you. That's very kind.
Isabella, thank you for the BGN.
That girl is amazing. She just does some wonderful stuff for us. By the way, folks, show her some love. This woman, she goes into all of our streams and she does like a table of contents, and she takes it and goes through second by second and writes down what all the different topics we talk about are.
Yeah, but you know what you can do with that, which I haven't seen you do yet? You can actually copy that, what she writes down in that comment section, and you can take it to the back end of the video and apply it to chapters. Just copy and paste it, and it will actually put chapters on your video that people can skip to. What? Yep.
Say what? Are you serious?
Yeah, Isabella for the win.
Gosh, heck yeah.
Yep.
I had no idea.
Well,
Daydreamer says, are we going to see footage? I assume you mean footage from the James Webb? The last time we saw the James Webb was when it was in orbit. Now, the last imagery was of it going away with that solar panel deployed that I showed you before, which is this guy underneath here. Okay, actually, let me rotate this thing to the side again. Okay, if you remember, when it left the Earth, we saw the circular part here, and then we saw a a square set of panels extended out from it. All right, that was actually on this side. It was like that kind of. That was what we saw, and that was the last image from the James Webb that we will ever see. You know, but you don't see all the rest of the deployed stuff. You know, and now all the rest of the deployed stuff is
I got a good question.
What'd you do?
I got a good question. Would the Hubble be able to image
See the
James Webb?
Yeah.
Inception.
Actually, interception.
Thank you, Isabella.
I'm thinking, you know, at some point, we're going to try to image it too in SkyTour Livestream, because we'll be able to see it out there, because the sun shield is going to be facing us, so we'll see a dot. We'll see a bright dot, hopefully, but it might be pretty faint to us, but we'll catch it.
Yeah. Well, by the way, our friend Scott over at Astronomy Live was able to do some tracking with his tracking software when it was launched. And he made a pretty good, now, pardon me, some people call it a GIF image, some people call it a GIF image. Whatever one you want to call it, he made a pretty nice one out of it. You can actually see it cruising through space.
Cool. Awesomely.
Yeah, his tracking software is working really well. That's another channel I highly recommend if you like that kind of stuff. Astronomy Live. There's one called Astronomy Live Stream. That's not the one. This one's just plain old Astronomy Live. You can find him on YouTube. He does great stuff. He made and programmed his own tracking software for Meade telescopes, which we're trying to get in Mark's hands, which would be awesome as well. It's the auto tracker. So, and he tested it on the James Webb launch, and it worked flawlessly. It was great.
Awesome.
Yep.
The only the problem is the mount has to be Vera Lucia Campos from Brazil. Thank you so much.
Told you it was
Lucia. Thank you very
Lucia.
much. That's very kind of you guys. You know, it all goes into the fund to help us keep SkyTour Livestream going. You know, I collect all your donations, and I never use them for me personally. I always use them for the observatory.
I use mine to drink all the booze that Tara uses that needs bottle caps. With that pretty cool door that's outside the SkyTour West Observatory.
That's right.
Made of all bottle caps.
That's right. She's done a nice job on that.
Yep. Very nice.
Really, really nice.
Once again, thank you, Vera Lucia Campos.
Yeah.
Just rolls off the tongue.
Vera has come in like every stream. You know, it's been amazing how she's just decided to join us and come in. Thank you, Vera. I really enjoy your company here.
I mean, you got Justin, you got Amal, you got Rockstar, you got CND Boy, you got, all these people join us night after night after night, just come to hang out, which is why, Mark doesn't know this yet, but pretty soon, in about 15 minutes, we're going to start talking aliens, and we're going to start talking about protocols.
No.
And we're going to get the chats involved here and to see what you think, because once again, tonight is a discussion night. You learn a little bit about the James Webb, and now we open it up to get your opinions.
Okay.
So aliens are coming up in 15.
Oh boy, that's scary.
Yes, very scary. And hello to Proficient, Epic 300, and James Roberts, and OG Skywatch, and of course Ray's still hanging out. Ray's Astrophotography. Once again, check his channel out. Amazing content.
Wow.
Tonight we're talking about the James Webb Telescope, and then aliens in 15 minutes.
That's correct.
Correct. Because I think we're a small little blip on the radar of science people that do believe in alien life. It's starting to grow.
Yeah. I mean, and it doesn't matter. Like, for instance, being an astronomer is all well and good and everything, but people don't generally, I don't know, they don't view us as, Amal, thank you, man. Tuition. You're cool. That's very cool. Thank you.
Tuition.
I watched that movie, Don't Look Up, with Leonardo DiCaprio. And
I haven't seen it yet, so don't spoil it.
I'm not going to
Is
tell
it any
you how
good?
it went, but
Just tell me this is
yeah,
good.
everybody dies. No, it's kind of interesting. I didn't like it myself per se. The
Okay.
part that I like the most is that Leonardo DiCaprio is an astronomer, and they actually make him sort of the hero of the movie, and I thought it was kind of interesting. So it gave me confidence that maybe I could actually be someone's hero. I would love that.
Well, we all can dream, can't we? Anyway,
I know, right?
alien.
We can all dream of the impossible things, Mark. It's okay.
Mark, you're already a hero to so many.
I'm kidding around when they say that.
So am I. Anyway, back to the.
How did I know that was coming?
You walked right into it.
Are you kidding me? I charged in headlong.
By the way, for my P&K peeps, if you ever want to see Mr. Dantonio, besides the Sky Tour live stream, besides P&K, you can check him out on all kinds of TV series, roaming around on Discovery channels and travel channels and all other kinds of channels. Pick one. What do we got? NASA's Unexplained Files, What on Earth, Aliens on the Moon. Does that one you did about the Hudson Valley? What's it called again?
Alien Invasion, Hudson Valley, on Discovery Plus. Yeah. On
Discovery Plus, yeah. So you can check those series out. Mark is a regular contributor to all of them.
Don't forget. Well, on Aliens and Alien Invasion, I was a cast member, so we actually had there were 3 of us that went all around Hudson Valley investigating these things. But then, The Proof is Out There is another one, and The Proof is Out There is a really good series. I wouldn't participate in a series that isn't good. I just can't do it.
Well, then explain Aliens on the Moon.
That was supposed to be one where I was going to be given the last word, and I talked to them about this, and they made it sound like they were bringing me this footage, and whatever I said goes. Mm-hmm. In terms of what I thought it was. And I wasn't going to be flippant about it. I was very careful and wanted to make sure I got all my stuff in a row, ducks in a row with this.
Explained yourself well, analytical,
Yes. They got here at 9 in the morning to do filming. Mm-hmm. And I was supposed to get the footage from the moon that I was supposed to analyze within an hour. Okay? Well, that hour turned into 2, turned into 5, turned into 10. And then it turned into 14 hours. Okay? And actually, they got here earlier. And by 10 o'clock in the evening, 10:30 or 10:45 p.m. that night is when the photos came in. And they wanted to then rush through all the analysis.
But it gets better. Didn't they already have them colored for you to the areas?
Oh, that was so bad.
So they were already trying to steer you towards
Yes.
what they were trying to see, and you just said nope.
I will.
There was a couple things. There that kind of were.
There was
weird,
one thing I saw that I thought was worth further analysis. All right, and that was this one image taken where you actually saw this geometric pattern, and I said, "Do you know if this is the original frame? Is this a photographic artifact? Is this a development artifact when they developed this film? What was it? Do you have any idea?" And they're like, "Nope, it's an artifact on the moon." I go, "Well, not guaranteed. It's not guaranteed to be on the moon, but it is the most interesting one of all the ones you showed me."
They wanted a figurehead.
That one was not colorized, and it was one of the few that wasn't.
Right.
And they added these colors, as you said, to try and steer me down a path of saying, "Oh, these are alien things. Look at the shape."
I'm gonna stop you right there. If anybody has ever seen Aliens on the Moon, you know the photos that we're talking about. What they did is they added like a blue or a green color to it to make what they were looking at stand out, and it did make it look like these weird things. But then Mark ended up proving a lot of these wrong, especially the bridge one that everybody always talks about. But continue, Mark. Just letting them in on.
Well, the bridge one that he's talking about is this. They had this image from the moon. They showed a dark area and then this bright object arcing over it. Like, whoa, what's that? It looked really interesting. But when you look at the whole frame, I realized what it was. And I actually went into my shop. Now, those of you know who I am. I own a visual effects company. I do visual effects for TV, for movies, and all that stuff. And then for other people, for individuals who are doing movies and things on their own. Well, So I have a lot of stuff kicking around. So I went into my shop and I took out my lunar soil that I had prepared especially for this production. Before they came, they said they were going to do some stuff with lunar soil. And I said, aha, okay, I'll make some lunar soil. So I have it on hand. Now, you don't just make lunar soil, okay? Lunar soil is very abrasive. It actually is like glass. And if you inhale the dust, it'll kill you. So I didn't do the glass
Yummy.
part. Yeah. Let's have some lunar soil, shall we?
You left out the silicone.
Yeah, I left out the silica.
Yep.
So, what happened was, I had this stuff and I made it into that bridge. And the way I made it into the bridge was actually, I thought, pretty clever. I took one of our studio lights and I put it down low. And I put a valley into my moon dust, and then a peak, and then another valley. Okay? And then the other side. So from an angle like this, looking down into the darkness, and then up at the lit valley top, and down into the darkness again, you actually saw that this looked like a bridge. It looked just like a bridge, right? And I showed them with the light. I said, look, here's the light at a low angle. There's your bridge. Then I raised it up, and you could see the whole valley with a ridge between two valleys that were parallel valleys. And he looked at it, he looked at me, and he goes, yeah, that won't make it into the show. Oh.
Right there, I would have been like, get out.
I was so peeved by that that I basically said, well, then I basically just said outright, then why are you even here?
Yeah.
Well, because you're the foremost expert on it, then why don't you let me do the expert thing then?
Because they wanted a known expert to fall in line with what they were trying to promote.
That's right. I never did.
Yeah.
And to this day, the guy that produced it, if he sees me at a conference or anything, he'll come up to me and say, Mark, oh yeah, you're the best. You did such a good job for us on Aliens on the Moon. And it's like, yeah, that's not kind of what you were saying when you were there. It's a little different.
Speaking of stuff on the moon, though, have you seen the new pictures from, was it Japan or China? China. A nice little box on the moon. What's your thoughts?
My thoughts on that box are interesting because, first of all, to call it a box is presumptuous. Right. It's a block.
Yep.
Right.
It's
and
a Borg.
One of the things that's more boring than calling it a box, I know. But what's important about it, I think, is that in strata, rock strata, when you have these large impacts, sometimes you get these gigantic blocks that are thrown out, and they tend to fracture on lines of, crystal lines, basically. That is to say, rocks all have a structure, a crystalline structure, and that crystal doesn't need to be a clear like glass or anything. It can be a rocky crystal. Well, they tend to fracture on those crystal lines. So getting something that gets thrown out in a massive impact that is a block is not unheard of. In fact, we've seen it many, many, many times. So getting something that looks sort of like a block isn't such a big deal. I suspect when they get to it, it's going to be just a normal rock, and that'll be the end of it. But we'll see.
Well, that's what they're going to tell us anyway. Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun.
So you're telling me it's not a Borg ship?
Oh, it's certainly not a Borg ship. They never made it to Earth. That was a lie.
What can we do?
I know, it's pretty cool. No, I think it's neat. No, I look forward to seeing what it is.
Even if it is a block from what you just said, it's still going to be interesting to go up to it.
Yeah.
I
agree.
It's still going to be awesome.
Well, see, I don't know how far away it is, number one, and number two, I don't know how big it is. Because...
No, I thought of another sighting, and I just couldn't help but laugh. Are the cousins, or are they cousins or brothers? Brothers, cousins. What are they called? Help me out here. That's a UFO channel. The brothers cousins, or cousins brothers. I don't know. They're like twins. They're twins. Anyway, they
Okay.
they had these UFO videos come out, right? And you can clearly see this was just like running along a power line. Like it was just a surge of electricity. So it was like a power ball, like running down a power line. They're like, what is this light? Is this a UFO? It's awfully close to the ground. It doesn't look like there's any video manipulation in this. I can't tell what it is. And I'm like, dude, it's running on the power line. It was like, I was like, you gotta be kidding me. Like, what is going on? There it is. Yeah, third phase of Moon. Thank you. Proficient epic.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, third phase.
Oh my
is
guys, up your
blacklisted
game,
by a lot
man.
of us.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're blacklisted by a lot of us because they're just sensationalizers for click. They're clickbaiters. That's all they are.
Yeah, yeah. I kind of figured that out when I was like watching them, like kind of with my face in my hand, and all of a sudden I saw a music video pop up, and the drummer wasn't drumming with the beat. It was just he was like hitting cymbals when there was like snare hits and stuff. I'm like, okay, they tried way too hard with this music video. Like it's all like epically cinematic shots with like drones and stuff, and they're like not even. I'm like, man, you could at least synced up the music to what was going on the screen. But you know, they try. Heck, they like to be creative, I guess. But I mean, it's like it just gives all ufology just a bad, bad.
Well, that's why we blacklist groups like Third Phase of the Moon.
I get it though. I mean, they're trying to make a living, I guess. You know.
Yeah.
But hey, every once in a while they'll have a zinger.
You know, some of those groups did a video on me, and I have to admit that because they know who I am, they chose not to sensationalize what I was talking about. They actually reported it correctly, which shows me that if they know what you do and what you stand for, and they know you will call them out on it, they won't go down that negative path. They'll actually keep it on the forthright, and they did. So I was very pleased.
That was a secure team one, wasn't it?
Yes, security. That's right. Yeah, secure team. Who actually they're gone now, aren't they?
He was gone, and then then he was back again. And then he was like in jail or something. And I don't know, smacking around his wife or something, or drugs, or I don't know. And then he came back, and it seemed like he was doing all right, and then he disappeared again. So who knows? Yeah. But you know what the story will be. You know what the story will be because it's the same with all of them. So it's either the government is suppressing me,
right?
They're after me. There's a bunch of haters and trolls that are paid by the government. You get the same thing from the dude in Canada. It says this all the time. There's people stalking me. No, the dude that thinks clouds are on the moon. There's a big conspiracy to stop me because what I'm showing you is clearly they don't want you to see it. That kind of conspiracy nut job. Yeah. But I don't know, man. You notice there isn't anybody in where is the new big names in ufology? Like I even say this, and I don't mean to bash your network here, but even on KGRA, it's like it's the same people all the time. It's like the same people jumping back and forth on the same shows as guests, and it's like, where are the new faces of the people taking up the torch from the older investigators like Linda Moulton Howe, like Richard Dolan? Where are they?
I don't know.
Is it because we have better cameras these days and not as many realistic things are being caught? Is it because there's higher secrecy? Is it, I don't know. You're MUFON's, lead video and photo analyst. I mean, have you seen anything coming across the MUFON sites lately that's, kind of cool or what?
I have not.
Yeah, kind of figured.
And the reason, well, no, but that doesn't say much, okay?
Right.
Honestly, we all wait for that one citing, that one event that will be the quintessential definitive proof, but that's hard to come by. But I think it's interesting that NASA hired a bunch of theologians. What do you think of that?
Well, I like Theo.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, does it really make much of a difference if they did? I mean,
Well,
Seriously?
what? See, people say, why did they? And I don't believe this particularly yet. Okay, but I do think that the James Webb can find life elsewhere, and it stands a chance to really disrupt religious beliefs, because
Yes.
that's the problem, right? Earth is the only place that has life on it, according to a lot of people. Not according to me, you know.
Yeah.
So I think that basically, that means that you know, if we have life elsewhere, then that violates what people might feel about their religious beliefs. But just a few years ago, the Pope actually came out and said that if life was found elsewhere, it would not disrupt Christian doctrine at all. And he came up with some reason for it. And it's like, well, okay, that's fine.
Hey, we're getting
I
requests
think
for you to turn the music down in a little bit if you can.
I saw
Okay,
JWST's
gotcha.
message. I turned it down.
Well, thank you.
And I won't be a petulant child and just ram it up to full speed and, you know, high volume and say, "Ha! Now what?" I wouldn't do that. No worries, JWST.
Well, I think the biggest thing is the Christianity has this, like, you know, man was made in God's image, and that totally blows a hole in it when you figure, you know, there's other beings, intelligent beings out there, that image is kind of shattered. Well, then, but see, the way the religion works is that it'll just step it up and, like, well, God created all this, you know, and you know how it works, you know.
Yeah, I mean, and first of all, keep in mind when you listen to it, you know, God created man in His image. What about woman?
Right.
You know,
No,
what do you mean?
she gets a rib.
Why are they getting getting relegated to second fiddle?
I'm not trying to bash anybody's religion. I get it. You know, religion is good. If it gives you comfort, if it gives you meaning, if it gives you purpose, awesome. I have nothing against it whatsoever.
I don't either.
But when you start using it as an explanation for, you know, certain things, it just, I don't know, kind of irks me a little bit. That's just me, though.
Yeah, I get that.
I'm gonna go refill my beverage. Talk away.
All right, Science Bob has a good point. He says, I think we'll find life off Earth in our solar system first, like Titan, Europa, and Enceladus. Science Bob, you're actually right. And it could be the James Webb that actually can detect that. But we don't need James Webb to detect that, because we can actually do those kinds of studies. If we can go in situ, if we can get to the place like we get to Mars, which, by the way, is extremely hard to get to, by the way. It's really hard to land on the surface of any planet, okay, including Earth. But never mind another planet that's moving through space on its own with its own day-night cycle. We have to enter their atmosphere and be able to get our speed down such that we can land with a parachute nice and gently on the surface, or use the sky crane or whatever to land there for Mars, for instance. So I think it's pretty interesting. It just seems to me that you know, we look at how we get to these different places. We can look at Mars. We have many orbiters around Mars. We're not the only country that does. And we've detected water on Mars. Okay, it's a reservoir under the south pole of Mars. And so I think that knowing that kind of stuff exists there means that we have the capability to soon be able to detect there might be life there too, you know. And you might say, well, you know, as long as the landers and the rovers all have the ability to look for life. Well, in the case of Mars, every single mission, bar none, landing on Mars, that landed on Mars, has landed on Mars with one of its program directives being to search for past or present life on Mars. So we're looking for life no matter what. And we've extended that desire out beyond our solar system to exoplanets. And the James Webb right there, it's all about that. We're going to be doing the same thing with this telescope right here. James Webb is beautiful. Okay, this is, like I said, this thing here, this distance here, is the length of a tennis court. Right? It's really big, and it's going to protect the sensitive instruments, which are housed behind the telescope here. It's going to protect those instruments from the heat of the sun. This is the side that's going to be facing the sun at all times, and this is the side that's going to be the coolest. There's multiple layers here because these layers, each in turn, will prevent thermal energy from going to the next layer. Little by little, by the time it gets to this top layer, where you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 layers, by the time it gets to the top layer, this top layer will have the least amount of energy that got transmitted through it from the heat of the sun.
I leave for 2 minutes. I come back. He's back on the James Webb. I'll tell you, if the man isn't anything, he's consistent.
Why? I was talking about lots of things.
Yeah, I know. I heard. Good job.
Okay.
So, the big question then, back to aliens, sir.
Yes, sir.
This is where we need the input for it, because we had this question, I think a couple years ago, we asked chat. And now that we have a bunch of new faces, we'll find out what they think.
Okay.
But, okay. So, aliens come. Intelligent aliens come. We know they're here. Yes. Everybody can see them. Okay?
Yes.
Everybody.
Okay.
There's no doubt about it this time. The governments can't hide
doubt.
it. Nothing like that. All right?
Yep.
What is the first thing we as humans should do upon the discovery?
Kill them.
No, that's probably what we will do. I'm saying what's the thing we should do?
Well, obviously, I don't really believe that. I think that...
I'm going to poke it with a stick.
Hit it with a stick, Edna. Edna, hit it with a stick. You do it, Ronald. I ain't doing it.
Like, what? I know there's some protocols in some places. I think it's somebody for the UN is in charge of, supposedly, is in charge of this stuff. I think it's a good idea to have the UN do this, because we're going to need a representative of all nations. Hopefully they are UN nations. But, okay, so first contact comes. They obviously want to meet or, whatever.
Yes.
Who do we send? Who do we pick to be the welcoming person for our cosmic brothers and sisters? Is it a scientist? Is it a linguistics expert? Is it because this is going to be a total new thing. You're not going to even mannerisms and looks in the face. They're all going to be different. You can't get a read on it. This is literally a new contact, and we're hoping it's not going to go the way of the boot and the ant. If you know what I mean.
May not have a face, but
very true.
My feeling is that we're never just going to send one person, because that's not how we work in situations.
Right, but then who do you put on this committee then? The
first contact team.
Yeah, who do we put on the first contact team? Okay. This is the question for both chats, what they think. Let's start out with the main person. The main person in charge of the team, who should that be?
Okay, then I won't answer.
Why? You have a team in mind?
They might come from this nebula here. This is the Jellyfish Nebula.
Love the Jellyfish Nebula.
Yeah. And this,
do we listen, guys?
Halos, and I got rid of the halos.
Do we send in a military guy? Do we send in a president? Do we send in, who is it? Who is the person in charge of the welcoming committee, as you will? Think about it. That's a really hard decision.
It is. It's not easy to figure out who gets first contact.
I mean, you don't know if it's going to be a privilege, if they're just going to die from some weird, space virus by coming near contact with these radiation.
Or just be outright killed. They could be.
Yeah. It's like, who do you send? Who would you send if you had to pick one person? Like, who do you send? It's a very hard decision.
Yes, it is.
Like, you can send a scientist, you can send, an astronomer, obviously, but the only thing that's going to be able to tell you is maybe where they might have came from, because they can,
I know
trajectory and stuff like that.
You just want to be the one that sends you. You want to get sent. I know you do.
No. Not first contact. Do we send somebody wholesome, like a Mr. Rogers type, very non-threatening? But how do we know what's threatening and non-threatening to a different species?
We don't
exactly.
know if our gestures will be taken wrong.
I'm pretty sure pointing guns at things is pretty universal, but you never know.
Lauren Newbert says a NASA specialist.
Yeah, that could be.
But I agree with James Dugan, our friend from down under. Nobody who's political whatsoever should be on that team.
No, the last thing we want is political affiliation, destroying any hope we have.
The agenda should be learn and understand.
Right, but how do we communicate that?
And recognize their superiority. If they're here, it means that they are superior in most respects. So,
well, not only recognize it, but humble ourselves to it.
Yeah. Well, keep in mind, that's where I was going. If you think about it, if we look at how first contact works, when you first contacted some tribes in the Amazon, they reacted in fear and sometimes killed the visitors, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So that would be the expected reaction, I think, of any alien species coming here. But
okay, yeah, I can see that.
If they've had technology that could allow them to ply the vast gulf between the stars, it means that they have long ago got through their war phase, got through the nuclear power dangers, worked through possible extinction events, and figured out a way to all survive together on their planet. Possibly. And if that's the case, it means that if they're here, they're not here to eat our brains. They're not here to take our water or our resources. The Earth is puny compared to the resources available in a dark nebula and a mission nebula.
Right.
So that wouldn't be a reason why they'd come here. They would come here because they recognize something that they want to be involved with, like
also
life.
If they make contact, that means that they have a reason to. Which usually, if you were going with bad intentions, they're not even going to try to attempt to make contact first before attacking, if you will.
That's correct.
So you figure if they're coming to this planet, knowing they're going to make contact, that they would themselves have studied us at least for a little while, from wherever,
I agree. Yeah.
As an outside view, to pick up on some things of how humanity acts. Now, that might be a good or a bad thing, depending on how long they've been watching. But you figure that if they can travel the stars and they can, run vast distances through space, they probably did their homework on us at least a little bit before making their presence known. Because even in the world of Star Trek, even Mr. Roddenberry had the idea of not unveiling the Enterprise to tribal, planets.
That's right.
That is just, it would disturb, what is that, the Prime Directive.
That's correct. That was the Prime Directive.
So you figure they would have a similar thing, you would think. Now, once again, I'm speaking as a human, in human terms. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that it's very important to understand that we can't project our morality on these creatures that visit us from wherever they come from either.
Right. Yes.
They may not even have morality, which is kind of weird, because in this planet, when we think of people without morality, we think of serial killers who cold-bloodedly kill people and then don't even have any remorse. Okay, that's what we think about. Okay, when we think about that, all right. But that's not necessarily what it is. It could just be that that's the way they live. It could be that they preserve life, but they do it because it's just what the galaxy, what the universe demands of them.
Right.
It doesn't mean that they do it because they want to preserve life. They do it because those are their rules. And their rules could have been founded by peoples long ago, for all we know. So I think it's interesting. It's a tough question. And first of all, we should try to establish communication.
Well, wasn't it the basis of that one movie? What was the movie?
The Arrival?
The Arrival, yes. That was probably the most authentic portrayal of an alien
I think so.
visitation, I think.
Yeah.
Something totally not familiar to us with, and no languages.
Yeah.
It played out how I think it would in real life.
Yeah, me too. I like that movie very much. They had command of high technology. The thing just stood there. They never came out because they had to stay behind their safety of their own atmosphere. And then they had these long hands, they would come out and then spell this black stuff out, and they'd create things, and then we'd create signs and show them to them. So at least there's eyes that are common between the species. You see what I mean? Eyes, visual receptors.
Right.
So I think that's pretty cool. So
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so we can't really decide on who to send. Now, we were talking about a team to send. So what were your thoughts on that?
I would send a linguist. I would send a scientist. That is to say, a scientist who is actually familiar with advanced propulsion concepts. Someone like Sonny White, from EagleWorks Labs. I think he's retired now. I could be wrong. I wouldn't send any figureheads. That's not where I would go with that. I don't think that's the right approach.
Right.
So no figureheads, nobody of importance that way. And
which would be tough because a lot of people would be calling for a representative of humanity, and would want input into that.
That's right.
Which makes you automatically a figurehead. So it's kind of, I don't know. Like, who represents the best of us?
Oh, okay, I'll do it.
Yeah, I think we might have to send you. You or DiCaprio.
Oh yeah, that'd be good.
Yeah. What do you people think? I've seen a lot of things. Some people said Avi Loeb, Jane Goodall, Joe Plummer. Laura said a NASA specialist. 7707 says a biologist. OG Skywatch says an AI specialist.
If they use AI.
Correct. Yeah. Well, OG Skywatch says you don't send beings, you send AI to hybrid your DNA to the existing creatures.
Ah, okay.
Gotcha.
Interesting.
Yeah, Sagan would have been an interesting one if he was still around.
Yeah. See, now, if Carl Sagan was still around, he would definitely be on the list.
Right. And I can't see I can't see us sending any of the new age rock star astronomers or rock star science people, like Neil deGrasse Tyson or anything like that. I just no.
I think that the problem with guys like that is that they have an agenda, unfortunately.
Right.
They have an agenda, and I just don't. I don't think that would work very well. Actually, I like Neil deGrasse Tyson. So I mean, he and I.
Oh, me too.
We agree on several elements. For instance, it's very important to get young people interested and work on getting them educated. That's very important, and that's something that we both agree on.
Yeah, but as for sending him for first contact, it's just, you know, it's on the same level as like Bill Nye. You know.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
It's
see,
just,
Bill
I don't
Nye
know.
again, agenda driven. I'm not. I don't want to see agendas.
Well, I mean, what if, you know, the aliens that are visiting us are just billionaires from other planets? You know, we'll give them Jeff Bezos. We'll keep one of theirs.
What if they are me, William Shatner?
Yeah. Let's send Shatner. We could send George Takei. George Takei.
Okay.
Ooh, an alien.
Oh my.
Oh my.
Oh my. Yeah.
Oh, you're handsome. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I don't know. Yeah. Proficient said, how about sending an average Joe? The problem is the definition of average Joe varies among who you ask.
That's correct.
And then you're just going to tick people off, and it's just... nobody can ever agree on anything.
Yeah.
You know? But I think, I don't know, somebody can look it up. There is somebody in the UN, the UN that is tasked
The
with
UN.
dealing, is tasked with dealing with this exact scenario of alien contact. There is a person.
Yeah.
I don't remember who it is or why, but
I do think that there's evidence that they're here. For sure. I've had experiences I can't explain. You know that. And there are fast movers in our oceans that can't be explained. Our navy's known about them. Chinese navies, other navies around the country, around the countries around the world. Russian navy. They've seen these things. So clearly, there's something fast moving, faster than anything we have on Earth, moving under the waves, and that is very important stuff. Okay, that means that we're talking about a civilization that may be here observing us and stay out of our sight, because they go, as I say, they go where we are not.
That's what pisses me off, because why don't, like, the military people just release the data? You know? Just release it. Let it, you know, but they won't.
Well, part of me wonders whether they actually have the data. Okay, 'cause I don't necessarily believe that they actually have the data.
Okay.
I don't believe that they actually know what the data should look like. I don't believe they actually have a handle on what these things are.
Of all our equipment, our high-tech equipment in the oceans and space,
Yeah.
you don't think that there's, you know, definite proof sitting in a lockbox somewhere?
Tough question.
I mean, they got so worried about, you know, after New Mexico and Roswell, you know, and everything just went to lockdown supposedly after 1947.
That's right.
That really, you know, we got to wait for disclosed documents. It's just, I don't know.
Well, it's waiting for disclosure is something we're probably gonna be doing forever.
Yeah.
I don't
because they
necessarily
keep
believe
on
it's gonna come through.
Well, their secret weapon in the United States anyway. The secret weapon that the government uses it's for national security purposes that we don't. Now, what could be in national security that they will not release the JFK files? From what year? And you mean to tell me something from that year is still affecting our national security in 2021? I don't think so.
I don't think so, but I also think that anyone who was around during that assassination is long since dead.
Yeah.
So
and they still
it's very possible if they actually knew all the details of the data. I bet you that there's data they don't even understand or they can't process, because it's, keep this in mind. The film, let's just take film, okay? Photographs, okay? Those negatives degrade over time. even if you keep them in a cool, dark, dry place, they will degrade over time. Okay? Just like old windows in an old farmhouse. All right? These old windows are glass. How come when you walk in and look at these windows, they look like they're saggy? It looks like they have waves in them. You say, oh, that glass wasn't very good. Actually, it was. But the fact is, glass is still moving even after it's made. So glass, being a liquid, just slow moving, will eventually sag. And that's what you see in those old windows, is sagging glass. Right? So, in other words, things that we think are immutable do change over time. The universe changes over time. You know, this star cluster in the rosette that we're looking at right here, this star cluster was formed a few million years ago. What was there before this? Nothing. You didn't see all this. It wasn't there. The gas might have been orbiting and circling around other stars, or just been, in this area of the universe. But once the stars all winked on, they all went on pretty much together, they started ionizing this gas, making it glow. And now this becomes that immutable object that we think will never change.
Right.
But it's changing all the time. We just don't see it because it's so large. It's many light years across. And we don't have a concept of traveling light years. Okay?
Well,
the distance across this thing is way bigger than the distance from here to Alpha Centauri, which is 4 light years. So,
Well, here's what I think the big problem is, and this is why I think disclosure won't happen, not on the government level anyway, is because if it does come out, truthfully, honestly, with all the stuff that they have on it, there is no doubt in my mind that the government has silenced people. And you know what I mean by silenced. They've had people committed to loony bins. Yes. They've had all this stuff. Now, if it comes out that it is true, that is an awful big liability to the United States government. That they are going to have to backtrack on all these people.
Yeah.
And how many people they silenced.
Yes.
And made disappear, if you know what I mean.
I do know what you mean.
And then people are going to want answers. And they're going to want answers into all of those projects that came with that. Yes. You know which projects I'm talking about. There's one right up in New York that Bill loves to go to. Montauk.
Montauk?
Philadelphia experiment. You have, all these experiments that might have came from alien technology that has never been disclosed, and people were silenced because of it. If it comes out today that all that was actually real, the government has a lot of explaining to do and an even bigger uprising on their hands than they ever thought they would.
You're absolutely right.
And I think that's the reason why we will never know. And it's either burned or hidden well in a deep storage vault somewhere, never to be seen again. That's just my opinion.
I don't know about that.
It won't be. Unless it's found thousands of years from now, when it doesn't matter anymore.
Well, here's what I think. Okay. This image tells us something about what you're talking about, believe it or not. This image was taken by our telescope out in the desert, right? Andromeda Galaxy. I dangle it in front of you because it's a beautiful image that you want.
Yes. Love that. Love that.
Yeah. And you see these areas up here. These are young stars forming. You see these dark clouds of gas and dust. You can even see some very fine details like this right here, a little nebula here. You see other nebulae in here throughout this. Now, why am I showing you this? Because this image used to be the realm of the professional, big, multi-million-dollar endowed observatory.
The Griffith Observatory.
Like Mount Palomar, Lick Observatory, Mount Wilson. This was the realm of those observatories. And now it's the realm of SkyTour Livestream. Because we put the equipment together and we managed to figure out a way to use it all for nothing, for free. The information, okay, we can give it to you for free, is what I'm saying. And this goes up to our server, and people get to see these things minutes after they're taken. And the images are traveling thousands of miles to a server where they become available seconds after they're taken. This progress, this technological progress, is something that I've always wanted to leverage to be able to bring astronomy to the masses. And so that's just my little story. Consider the fact that if we're looking for signs of alien life, we have the capability of looking deep inside galaxies like this. We can see individual clusters of stars in here. This galaxy is 2.4 million light years away. So everything we see in this image that we're seeing here, it left this galaxy 2.4 million years ago. Now you look at the timeline of the Earth and say, this light that just happened to be hitting the camera when we took that on December 2nd of this month, last month. This month. Left 2 million years ago. And it hit the camera and we caught it. Now, it might have just gone past, or that light beam coming from the galaxy could have not have been seen by anybody and would have been lost to history forever. But because we caught it, you see this little bit of it, this little tempting teaser, and we see star-forming regions, and we see all these areas in this galactic disk where this dark dust is, and we're undoubtedly looking at other life right now, right in this view. We're seeing other life, other worlds.
Yep.
That's my feeling.
The math almost points directly to it. You know?
Oh yeah, it certainly does. When Frank Drake created that equation, the Drake equation, there were several factors he used to calculate the probability that there might be life elsewhere. What it took into account was an approximate number of stars in our galaxy, approximate number of galaxies in the universe, and the potential habitability of a particular star, how many of those particular stars might actually exist. And then, on top of it, it would actually, the next calculation you would do is try to figure out how many of those stars with those planets at the right location around the star that were also habitable survived to full maturity and ended up being technologically capable. We still can't answer that. We know how many planets roughly. We can calculate that, and the Drake equation now shows that there is many more than just the Earth out there now. Just a rudimentary reworking of the Drake equation shows minimally, from an Italian team, 22 million other Earths just in our galaxy alone. Right? That is planets that are about the same size, the same galaxy, habitable zone planets, just like
and that's just wired down to planets that may be like us because they have similar conditions.
Because it might be carbon based.
Right.
And I've said this before too about that, and I'll get to that in a sec. But so, considering that might be the case, that's the conservative estimate. The more all-encompassing estimate is that maybe we're talking about 1/4 of all the stars in our galaxy, which may have 150 billion stars at the low end, 200 to 300 billion at the high end, maybe more. We can't see through the forest, you see. We can't see the other side, so we don't know. But that said, we could have up to, a tenth of the stars in our galaxy having habitable worlds around them, like the Earth. And that could stand for all galaxies. So right now, in this one image right here, we could be seeing millions upon millions upon millions of intelligent cultures. And behind the Andromeda Galaxy STLS West symbol there, which I'll remove right now, go away. Who knows? I might have just uncovered 30,000 or 35,000 more. So this is information that we're eventually going to know. We're going to eventually be able to get that. The James Webb can look in this galaxy. That galaxy right there, it can look there. It can look for stars that are forming. It can look at planets that might be in that galaxy. It's not constrained to our own galaxy. In fact, none of the systems are. Even Earth-based telescopes can see other planetary systems that might be in another galaxy. But it's certainly not easy to do. But everything that happens in this galaxy probably also happened here, right? And we're made of carbon. Carbon is the fourth most abundant element in the universe. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? And if you consider that every life form on this planet has deoxyribonucleic acid, DNA. Okay? Every creature has DNA. Every creature has its own unique structure. And every creature has a unique characteristic about its environment in that it's curious. Curiosity is something that is systemic to all carbon-based life. Now, why is that? I don't know. It's a given. It's a given. Thanks, Ralph, for putting up the Drake equation. It's a given. But if you consider that curiosity is what drives us to go exploring, it drives an entire species to go exploring. So why wouldn't it drive other species? Why wouldn't it drive the Andromedans? It would, you know. And
they might have that natural explorer gene that we do.
Yeah, if they're carbon based, they might very well, because like I said, every life form has DNA in it on this planet. So that means that if there's other carbon based life, most likely it has DNA of its own. And we turned out exactly as we did because of the circumstances on our planet with the extinction events. Okay.
Right.
That said, I can't say there's reptilians somewhere. I can't say that dinosaurs are a natural outcome on a planet like ours. But it might be. It might be a template provided by the universe. We're certainly not.
Wouldn't that be something? If it was just
huh?
a repetitive template, like there was. All right, we're going to all my religious friends. We're going down the evolutionary scale here, but you know, if it kind of the same, you know, it just, what if it follows the same pattern just in different galaxies? And when you do the numbers,
yes,
even if you're really conservative about them, there's nowhere even close to just us or us plus one or plus two. You're talking just unfathomable numbers of possibilities of us.
You're right.
Having
You are.
Cosmic neighbors that we just don't know about yet. Maybe we are the new people in town that just so happen to grow up and get a house, and yet there's an entire country, aka the cosmos, that we have yet to explore and to meet.
That's right, and I think that's
it's mind-boggling.
It's very true, and I think that we're probably looking at, I'd say probably a vast set of cultures that exist in our galaxy.
Oh yeah, because we only see a very small percentage of our galaxy that we're in.
That's right.
You know, very small percentage.
Yep. Okay.
Imagine what's past that.
This is another one right here. Okay, this is a Messier 33. This is a Triangulum galaxy. This galaxy is, it's near the Andromeda galaxy in space, and actually is a galaxy that might have interacted with it passed around it or orbited at one point, might be in the middle of some kind of motion. But what's neat about this galaxy is you can see, if we get into the middle of it here, you can see all this dark nebula and stuff in here. These are the places where stars and planets form. These are the spiral arms where all the stars form. This is where life is going to spring from, is these dark nebulae in here. That's where life comes from, And so when we look at, for instance, like this galaxy in particular, this is also, just like our galaxy and every other galaxy we've seen, this is also a galaxy where cataclysmic death also happens. One such place was right here. That's a supernova. The death of a star. And it's spewing out, in this case, there's a lot of oxygen. That's why it looks that color. Here's another one over here. Okay, that green one, that's another supernova.
The death of
There's
a star
another one right
is
there.
the reorganization plan of the cosmos.
Exactly. That's a really good way to put it. Here's another one. Okay. Here's another one. All right. Another one. Okay.
Ralph had a good statement. He said, why did intelligence only evolve in our species on Earth over the last 4.5 billion years when other things like eyes and arms and fins, etc., evolved many times over? It's a very good question.
It is. Keep in mind that when dinosaurs died 65 million years ago, that was a time when there was one particular theropod, meat eater, called a troodon, which was actually gaining intelligence. Now, it was going from a stupid birdish type dinosaur to a more
stupid bird.
Birdish type dinosaur. It doesn't mean
your mama was a stupid bird.
But it was heading toward something more intelligent, which shows you that at the time that the dinosaurs were catastrophically obliterated, it was a time when the Earth was changing through evolution. See, things were still evolving and changing. And I get into arguments with people a lot who say that evolution is such a bunk, it doesn't happen. Yet I could give you 12 examples of evolution that are occurring right now around you everywhere. Okay? The trouble is that just because you're inside of it, you don't see the forest because there's too many trees around you. You can't actually see it happening, to you. But it does happen, And, if you watch any kind of astronomical object over a long period of time, you see changes to it as well. So, everything is changing. Everything is under its own evolutionary time frame. Okay, this galaxy has changed since the very first time it's been explored and seen. All right, it has changed. There are differences in this galaxy. Supernova remnants are expanding outward ever so slightly, as seen from here. Changes occur in other nebulae. Like, this is one of the biggest nebulae in this galaxy right here. This is a gigantic star-forming region. Look at this giant loop. Okay. Incidentally, seeing this loop with our telescope is somewhat of a feat of engineering here. We're really lucky to be able to capture this. So again, these are objects that are always changing. All right, and when the dinosaurs died, they were changing too. So life forms are changing, objects in the universe are changing, the universe is changing. Nothing is sitting still. This table is not sitting still. The atoms are in vibrational motion. They're all moving, high rates of speed within themselves. So there's nothing at rest. If you really wanted to be at rest somewhere in the universe, you can't find it anywhere. There's no place at rest. See, there's always change, always evolution going on, no matter where you look in the universe.
Amazing. I guess we'll get close to, what time is it?
Nick,
12? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, we'll be going soon. Nick Tesla says, but every human breeds or can breed, so have we stopped evolving? Well, no, actually, that's not true. We have not stopped evolving. I'll give you an example. When you go, I did a talk for several hundred, I think it was like 750 to 800 people down in Arkansas. And I went out and I asked them, I said, how many of you have been home thinking about someone you haven't talked to in a year or two, and the phone rings and it's them? And every single hand went up in the auditorium. 750 hands went up in the air. And of course that starts everybody laughing. And I said, science would have you believe that's a coincidence. Well, it's not a coincidence in my view. It is a state of change with human beings. Over time, we are changing, we're evolving to use more processes by which we gather information. And one of these processes has to do with what I think is quantum entanglement at the brain level. Okay, that quantum entanglement is a really interesting phenomena that we've noticed with atoms and components of atoms like electrons. Einstein referred to it as spooky action at a distance. But if you take a material, let's say this material, you split it in half, and you take the electrons of the material from the atoms and put it over in lab A, the electrons from this other half of the material put over in lab B. They're separated. They're not together. If you measure a characteristic of the electrons in this piece of the material, this half, the characteristic called spin, and you found that the spin is up, it's up or down, then you know that the spin on these electrons is down. You don't even have to check. And if you change the spin to down from up, these electrons spin change from up to down. That's why it's spooky, and that's why it's spooky action at a distance. And that distance can be anything. So
spooky.
It is. You said spooky.
Spooky.
Well,
by the
why
way,
is it
everybody,
spooky?
real quick, there is a new poll up on the P&K chat. If you want to run over there and vote. The question now is, would you be interested in some streams where we talk about nothing but aliens and the possibilities? Go vote for it now.
You know they will.
You know they will. Well, you never know, because we might have to get on here and start talking about nothing but aliens and stuff just, on our chat nights where, it's either cloudy or we're not streaming the moon or we want to smash planets together in Universe Sandbox.
Yeah. Even if we do a live stream with the observatory, we can talk about aliens.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yep. While looking at their homes.
Yep.
From far, far away.
That's right. So yeah.
It's always a fun subject.
It is. It's a very fun subject,
Especially with your knowledge of the cosmos and of history, and you pretty much got your hand in everything, when it comes to biology and stuff and history of the Earth on toilet paper. You are the master of that. So it would be a great stream. And then maybe for one of those streams, we'll grab Bill and get him in here as well, because he, once we get talking about that, he is on a roll. So he would be a good one. Yeah. He had a friend over or something tonight. He was doing something.
Oh, he does? Okay.
Yeah, he had somebody in town. Well, he's doing his New Year's Eve thing, so. Yeah, he had people. Right. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, he asked me if I wanted to come over.
Yeah, I talked to him. I talked to him earlier. He actually called me, but yeah, because we were originally supposed to go up there for New Year's Eve, and then with Omicron and everything, we're like, you know what? Let's just chill out this year. We'll hang local.
Omicron. It's a cold.
It's still a cold I don't want to get.
Yeah.
I don't like being sick. I don't even like the sniffles.
No, I know. Nobody wants it. Yeah, you're right.
No, and then Ma with her age and stuff. I just rather.
Billy.
Billy.
Mom,
I'll tell you what, Mark.
Phone.
Why don't we wind this down? It's getting to be 12:30. We wow. What time did we come on? 9:30.
Yeah, we've been going
just about that.
2 hours 55 minutes. Well,
Time flies when you're talking aliens.
Oh, poor Isabella. She has her work cut out for her now.
Oh, poor Isabella. Yeah, Isabella, don't worry about marking this one down if you don't. I know we covered a lot of topics. On nights like this, you definitely want to keep doing it for the actual Sky Tour live stream.
I guarantee you, she's taking notes on this right now. I bet she'll say that she's been taking notes all along. Yes, that's a Cave Nebula.
Beautiful. By the way, you can see all these images Marc has been showing are ones that he actually does live for the people that are in P&K right now.
This is how it looked live. This is how this image looked live to the people watching.
So if you guys want to see him do this live, check out the Sky Tour live stream. And once again, I'm going to end this poll, and we are in the 100% yes category for talking about aliens and stuff. So maybe that's something we should try to do maybe once a month or once every couple weeks. We'll jump on and we'll get topics going and let the chat go crazy with questions and their own thoughts.
I agree.
Yeah, might be a good idea.
I want to show you something while we're here in the cave. This is the Cave Nebula, like I talked about. And why do we call it the cave? Well, because it has these really cool dark areas. It's a really interesting dark area over here. But down here, there's this very interesting area right here. These two little objects right here, one here and one here. These are stars that just winked on. They just came to life right here. These are called Herbig-Haro objects. And so they represent stars that were in the state of forming and winked on, started their fusion production. They started doing fusion. And we have this hydrogen gas that's caused to glow by these hot young stars here. Dark gas in here and dust, more out here. The realm of planets and other stars forming soon. This was probably dark nebula before these stars formed. Then it became bright, and then the hydrogen gas, which is in there, began to glow too. So really cool stuff and neat stuff. And these are all available on our free server. You can go get them. The pictures right out of the telescope look just like this. Honestly, Keith, I don't know of any other streaming group that can show almost fully finished images like this right off the bat to people as they're watching. I don't really know.
I think you do it, and I think Ray somewhat does it, but that's about it.
I don't know who does it.
Yeah.
I mean, we're doing it all behind the scenes. It's happening automatically. We're doing it, to make it happen. But it doesn't just happen. You have to make it happen. But I think it's pretty cool. And of course, you just can't beat the night sky out there, huh?
No. I mean, it's
can't beat that night sky.
Even. I mean, you're in a pretty dark spot in Connecticut, and even compared to that, it's just nothing.
Yeah.
The atmospherics
right now,
are top notch.
Yeah. Yeah. Right now, it's
still got the clouds
coming in out there. It's got a big mass. I was told we're not going to see clear skies out there until probably end of the week.
Yeah.
So that's okay. No worries.
So
well, anyway, folks, that's cool, man. I want to thank you guys for joining us tonight. This was a lot of fun. We had fun talking about the James Webb Space Telescope, and James Webb will be discovering potentially life out there. I want to say one more thing, though, before we go.
Sure.
You might say, how is the James Webb going to do that? What would we actually be looking for? We'd be looking for a biosignature, that is to say, a signature in a exoplanet's atmosphere of life. Now, yes, we may find life here in our solar system, but we're better suited to finding that using the systems that are on the planets like Mars, okay? Because if it's going to be there, it might be on Mars. Right. But if we talk about finding life in places, okay, there's something really interesting about the James Webb's capability. Now, because it looks in the infrared, it doesn't look in the visual part of the spectrum, like we said, all right? It's out in that red end where we can't see. Now, the biosignature of oxygen in an atmosphere is in the visible part of the spectrum. The James Webb doesn't see that. So the question is, how can it possibly find oxygen in an atmosphere? Well, the answer is actually pretty understandable when you consider the following. Oxygen being in an atmosphere promotes the formation of all kinds of other compounds and makes it possible for many other compounds to form. Those other compounds just happen to be out here where the James Webb is going to be looking. So when we look and we see those compounds, we're going to know there's oxygen present. Simple one. Carbon dioxide, CO2. There's two oxygen atoms attached to a carbon atom, right? Oxygen is present to make the CO2. CO, carbon monoxide. Oxygen is present to make the CO, right? So there's other materials too as well, other compounds that we'd be looking for that have signatures that will be out in that infrared part of the spectrum. So we're going to be looking, and the James Webb is going to have a field day looking at alien atmospheres, and I hope you will too.
I know I will.
I know I will. So,
all right,
we'll see you next week on Skype. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us tonight. We're going to wrap it up for the night. But since you have spoken, you may see us again sometime soon talking about some aliens. We'll see what happens. Yes. And I'm sure I can speak for Mark when I say I hope everybody has a great New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. Everybody be safe. Do not drink and drive, or I will come hit you in the face with a tack hammer.
Or his truck.
Get a driver. There's such things as Ubers, there's Lyfts, there's taxis, there's sober friends. Find a ride. Do not drink and drive.
I'm always the designated driver. I don't drink.
You're always my designated driver. And that's how we remain safe.
I don't drink or anything like that. I have to admit though, tonight I did open a beer. You know why? Because I made the best specialty tangy cheese sauce using beer. And I actually made it. I just thought of this afternoon. I thought, hey, I'm going to do this tonight. I cooked up some chicken with garlic and black pepper and salt. I'm making people hungry now. In a frying pan. And after it was done, I made up a pot of white rice. And then I made this beautiful cheese sauce. Cheddar off the block. Worcestershire sauce. Okay. Butter. Salt, pepper. And then a few other ingredients, including a cup of beer and some whole milk mixed, and then the cheese mixed all in together. Dijon mustard was in there as well. And this sauce, I laid it down on the rice first, laid a slab of chicken on top of that, and did the same thing on the other side with another slab of chicken, and then put more cheese sauce on top of the chicken, and then served it with al dente green beans that were just quickly seared in a frying pan for 5 minutes.
You know what that sounds like to me?
Black pepper.
Diabetes.
Nope, because the cheese sauce was the only thing that was bad for you, and so I made it nice
alcoholic
and tangy
cheese sauce,
so that you didn't need a lot of it. That's right.
All right, well, hey, if that's the one way to get you to drink a beer, I'm all for it. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, we will talk to you after I'll talk to you after the new year. I'm not sure what Mark's doing, but probably after the new year, you would think, right, Mark? Yeah, good. Okay. Thanks for agreeing.
No, if it's it'll probably be up live before that.
So you're going to be up live tomorrow night?
Maybe, if it's clear.
If it's clear. You just said it'd be 4 or 5 days until it clears out.
Yeah.
You're not doing anything?
Afraid not.
Except sitting around drinking your Schlitz sauce. That was a good one, Rob. Yeah, all right, let's get out of here. Everybody, go to bed. Have fun.
No, they want us. See, they don't want us to go, but we're gonna go. All right, folks.
We're gonna go.
You have a good night, and we shall talk to you later on. Bye, all. Yeah.
Had to get one for the road.
Oh, you're always doing that.
Tinky Winky.
Keith, you can't do anything with this guy. You can't. You try shouting him out. You try scrubbing him out, and still, You just can't get rid of them.
Good night.